as I say, give me a disgusting helmet. That's not it. Try again. Oh shit!
It's fine. What's the worst that can be? Oh, fuck, cunt. It did not work at all.
Why, hello. How's everybody doing? Except one new patch notes. Oh my god. Not again. Alright. Don't ruin me. Don't ruin me. Don't ruin me. What do you got? This one, I assume. Lapis Track of the Mamba now has 30% less attack speed while dual wielding and 20% less damage with hits while dual wielding. Matching regular weapon explicitly states that it only applies to damage with hits rather than being ambiguous. Okay. And now also has cannot inflict multiple poisons in the same hit. There's additional ways to apply multiple poisons in a single hit, but otherwise have significantly weakened the state of the skill. This does not affect the skill's normal dual wield behavior, as it still causes a single hit and then for a single poison. Okay. So they took Viper's strong Viper out back, put 3 shotgun shells into its chest and then buried it, and then the next day dug it up, put a brand new shirt on it, and they're just trying to like Weekend at Barney's the bitch. Like they didn't actually do it, they're just like, here's a fresh shirt and a hat, it's fine. Let me just pull this thing and it'll wave at me. Is dead, Jim. Anyway. Majority of the harvest beasts that can be captured by the majority of harvest beasts that can be captured by Einhar for beast crafting are now much more common. Okay. Okay. The rare monster item bonus to convert all equipment to currency is now more common. Ooh. Added a new vendor recipe. The highest trinket modifiers, granting highest chance for chaos and rebuild orbs to drop as exalts, has been disabled. Okay, sure. Highest trinket modifier with a chance of chaos orbs to drop as ancient orbs. Okay, sure. Highest trinket modifier granting regal orbs as divine orbs. Existing items will be unaffected. Enable scrapped ultimatums. Blah blah blah. As for ancient orbs and fracturing orbs. And exalteds are now at higher stack size and have lower difficulty on average. Ultimatum buffs, cool. Eater of Worlds altars can now have modifiers for eldritch monsters or map bosses drop ancient orbs. Oh right, so Eater just now has an ancient one. Okay. Ancient orbs and fracturing orbs are simulacrum rewards as well. Oh. Rate for short, cool. Sorry, Sanctum. Oh, Sanctum. I did misread that. Ancient orbs and fracturing orbs for Sanctum. Okay. Well, that's something. Okay, sure. Is Mirage like, no, don't dilute my div pool? I'll take them Sanctum only. You know, that is one thing the Sanctum is missing, is it's like its actual own reward, like something that you only get from doing Sanctum. Which I agree it probably needs, but I'm happy it's not these. I'd argue Original Sin is enough. There's an 800 div ring. So the problem with that is it's on that no hit run, right? Which is like 99% of people can't do it. So I don't mind it being there. That's fine. That's great. A really hard thing to do for players who want to go for that is fantastic. But I don't think that that constitutes a specific reward type for people to farm that content. Right? Like it's great. I like that it's a thing. I love really hard to get tier zeros and shit. That's great. Right? But like, it's not a specific reward for that content. Anyway. Lower currency exchange. Crafting bench options that previously cost a number of exalt orbs now generally cost 4. Previously 1 to 3. Yo, by the way, it's chaos orbs we don't have a use for anymore, not exalts. Okay. The vendor recipe for a full set of influence items at the same time now reserves 1 exalted orb instead of 2 shards. Okay. Small Atlas passives that grant 2% chance for monsters to drop a connected map now just grant 2% increased maps found. We're gonna be drowning in maps. Oh, that's not right. Oh, I hope they've severely dropped map. I hope they've severely lowered map drop rates. Because if they haven't and we can stack this the same as we could stack the connected, we're drowning in maps. Maps sales are over. Every single person has 600 maps. I mean, I guess map equity system, the hidden map equity system has to be gone now. So that, and it's nearly impossible for me to know or even guess how much of our maps as a percentage was coming from that system. Because it was hidden and impossible to track. Right? So I couldn't possibly know how much of our maps came from there. I mean, this will be good for me regardless. If there are just too many maps, it means that I'll be able to hide a bunch of maps. and I'll just pick up less shit. And if there's not enough maps, it means I'll just figure out how to get more maps, and then I'll sell them to people. But either way, it'll be fine. But like either way, it'll be fine. How will you hide some maps? I'll start running all of my shit as 8 mod corrupteds that only drop 8 mod corrupteds, and then I'll set my filter up to only show the particular like good roll one or whatever. The Curab shop now sells a wider variety of map related items, and his shop can be re-rolled with gold. Maps within Curab shop generally sell for gold, although some special items may still sell for... Oh, maps sell for gold. Okay. Low tolerance constitutional notable now has poisons you inflict on non-poison enemies deal 200% increased damage, previously 300%. I feel like you already killed the build that was using this by nerfing the other cluster, but that's fine. Oh, that one was removed. Okay. And so now it's back, but at 200% instead of 300%. What is that? What are you talking about? Oh, right. I missed the header. Removed patch note. Right. Right. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Next.
Thank you so much for joining me for a free Mirage.
All right. Octavian and Andrew. I don't remember meeting Andrew. Just a panel lexicon with Andrew. Maybe sure. I don't think I remember it. I don't think I remember him. It's, to be fair, with my memory, I do have to meet most people like 25 times to remember them. So fair enough. Okay, well, if we're gonna watch this, then we're gonna do it this way. Where I put it up here, and then we put it in, is it theater mode that makes it go properly? There we go. We should probably knock this sound right down here. Should I watch on YouTube or Twitch? Wherever you prefer. Wherever you prefer. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm cool either way.
Make life complicated.
Okay. You're gonna have to tell me if this is like loud enough to be good.
Interview. I'm joined with Octavian and Andrew. Some are already familiar with Octavian. We'll do introductions here in a sec, but this is Andrew's first time at an interview, I believe. I saw you did an ExileCon thing.
Way too quiet? Okay, hold on. We should be going probably maybe -30 here. Let's see how that goes.
But I figured, thank you so much for joining me for a pre-Mirage interview. I'm joined with Octavian and Andrew. some are already familiar with Octavian. We'll do introductions here in a sec.
Lovely.
But this is Andrew's first time at an interview, I believe. I saw you did a XLCon thing. But I figured if you guys can start with introducing yourselves and talk a little bit about what you do at Grinding Gear Games.
Vile Blackthorn, thank you for the prime.
My name's Andrew. I've been at GGG for about 7 years now. I started off in QA
in my ears as well.
I think I moved to design around Metamorph League.
Hold on, let me see if I can fix that. I assumed it was just the YouTube video. Hold on a second. So if I turn that down, I lower the gain there, and then I just move that up a little bit. That should be the same volume.
Of like all of the designers at GGG,
It's
I'm
not.
probably the one who's like spent the highest proportion of time on Path of Exile 1. Not to say I haven't done a few things on PoE 2, but yeah. So I'm pretty familiar with like all of the leagues back since when, all of them.
How's that?
And is it true that you are the dev check guy? That whenever Chris Wilson was doing like a dev check, it would be you answering the questions?
Yeah, for a period there, yeah.
Cool. That's good to know. I know a lot of people are curious about that. It's a good emote on Twitch too. Octavian, do you want to introduce yourselves for people who aren't familiar with you already?
Sure. Though first I do just want to say, like, I feel like Andrew's selling himself a little bit short. Like, he is essentially the bedrock of Path of Exile 1 design. Like, if there is a league mechanic or other thing in Path of Exile 1 that you like, he probably did some of the implementation for it.
Wow.
But yeah, my name is Octavian. Not my real name. Technically, my real name is Chris, but there's already another Chris at there has been another Chris at Grinding Gear. But yeah, my name is Octavian. I joined the company about 4 years ago now, and I am, design on PoE 1, though I started in QA like Andrew and like a lot of our designers, and also have touched a number of things on PoE 2, but full-time PoE 1 now.
And for those that don't know, Octavian used to be a streamer before as well. So
yes, in
Still
a
a
past
streamer,
life.
right?
What's
In a
that?
past
You're still a
life.
part-time streamer.
Now and again as a hobby. But
Really good
yeah,
games,
used
too.
to be full time. Used to be on podcasts on the other side of this.
yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for introducing yourselves, and thank you guys for being here and giving me this opportunity. I have a lot of things I'm excited to talk about. So, we'll start with talking about Mirage itself, and I'm a little bit curious with like when it comes to ideas and stuff. When you're thinking up a league for PoE 1, do you ever consider, is this going to be in PoE 2? Is it going to be used there, and how will it look like when it comes to PoE 2?
Not really. I mean, I won't say that it's like literally never come up as a question, but it's kind of an afterthought. Like, yeah, I mean, in the case of Mirage, I pitched the idea originally, and that certainly wasn't part of the premise, no.
That's actually
Mirage
good
is
news.
very, very different. We've seen like
By the time we're
starting at Legion, we had like the homogenization of loot. This seems a little bit the opposite of that, where it's enhancing each league's individual flavor. Would you talk a little bit more about like the league mechanic itself, especially like just basic things like what happens when you die? Can you go back in?
You would use a portal in the same way that you would if you died in the original map.
Okay.
So yes, you can go back in if you have a portal remaining.
And then we saw in the video that you free the djinns. Does that itself drop any loot or end the Mirage?
It doesn't prevent you from going back in the Mirage if there was still loot in there that you hadn't looted yet and you wanted to go get. But the djinn breaking free is kind of a flavor thing. However, completing a Mirage within the Mirage, so finding the astral chain and breaking that, will spawn a cache of rewards.
Okay, cool.
Alright.
And like I said, it alters the league mechanics and boss fights. I was wondering if we could have any examples of that. I'm particularly curious about how it interacts with ritual. Can we have 8 rituals, basically?
I was wondering that too.
I was gonna say, for the majority of this league cycle, Octavian has been working on the league, and I've been working on a bunch of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So Mirage stuff to me is like still fairly fresh. I'm not familiar with it, but I think I did actually do stuff regarding the ritual mechanics for Mirage. It's got this weird thing going on where if you had 4 rituals within your regular map, it will try to buff the ritual in the Mirage by so much that it would give you an equivalent amount of tribute. We had to do a bunch of weird maths to figure this out, but basically, if there's 4 rituals in your real map and there's 1 ritual in your Mirage, then that 1 ritual in your Mirage will be super juiced, and it should give you an equivalent amount of tribute to what you had in your real map.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Okay.
That
sounds
Do you have any other
dangerous.
examples that you're willing to share about like how it affects and changes league mechanics?
I'm just gonna say that sounds fucking dangerous.
That was a really cool one.
Abyss is one where so often the Mirage area is much smaller than the original map, and an Abyss can path quite a distance. So an Abyss in a Mirage is often going to, if its pathing would have taken it outside of the bounds of the Mirage, it will instead just open up a pit and start spewing out tons of monsters on the spot.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
And speaking of Abyss, does it or how does it interact with anything like an Abyssal Pit, Syndicate Research, anything that has like a separate zone, whether it's a loading one or not?
So what we term a child instance, which is what a Mirage is, it's a child of the instance that it was created in, cannot itself have further child instances. So that means that Labyrinth Trials, Volside areas, Abyssal Depths are not actually able to spawn in Mirages, no.
What about stuff like Alva that is it's a portal to something else, but it's not a loading screen?
That's a less hard rule. Alva actually doesn't work, but that's Master Missions in general don't get recreated in Mirages, but that's mostly because they have meta systems that need to be in a given state, and we can't actually predict the state that you'll be entering the Mirage in. So like say you've only done half of the encounters in the parent instance, and then you enter the Mirage. If you're in a Jin, talking in the context of a Jin mission, we don't know the state of your board. Like it's in flux. Because the state of the board is recalculated at the end of all of the Jin encounters, not necessarily at the end of each individual one within a map. So mostly for functional reasons, master missions don't work, and then like I said, anything that would send you to a further child instance doesn't get recreated.
What about Harvest?
Harvest works.
Oh, cool. Are you willing to talk about how Harvest works?
Say no.
If the portal to the Harvest Grove, I guess it's what it's called, is within the Mirage, then you can enter it, and the entire grove is valid walkable space.
Well, yeah, but is it different in the Mirage?
Oh yeah, there's a new kind of seed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what?
Okay,
It does things.
Okay, it does things.
We put it on the reveal page.
Yeah.
There's
Alright.
a new kind of seed? I didn't know that.
Are there any league mechanics that like completely don't work? Do you want to expand more on anything else that like isn't workable?
I think the only one that doesn't fit in the earlier list is the Viridian Wildwood doesn't show up in Mirages. There is a wish to add wisps though.
Okay. And what about Delve? Does that get like changed as well, like the sulfide piles?
That's master missions in general don't show up in Mirages. So
Right, that makes sense.
I'm curious, how does a delirium mirror work?
I would have to double check this because I requested it work this way, but I haven't looked at the issue in a while and it hasn't come back to me. But the intention is that if there is a delirium mirror in the overworld that you interacted with, then there is one in the Mirage.
Whoa.
Okay.
Does Mirages interact with the Valdo tier 17 maps from the puzzle boxes?
You can do a Mirage and a Valdo map, but you won't get the reward again.
Okay.
So you'll be able to do content again, but not the like special, guaranteed mage blood or whatever.
Yeah. You can still be sent to the void.
Yes. It inherits all the map stats of the parent instance, and that is a map stat, so yes.
Right. Does Nightmare maps and Originator maps have like both functionalities of the Mirage? Like, can you go through like the small Mirage, or can you basically double the map like that type of Mirage?
That is at odds with Originator maps, because the modifier that makes a map an entire Mirage map is taking up the same space as the modifier that makes it an Originator map. And that's kind of purposeful because we wanted to have two different strategies you could be pursuing in the end game rather than just stacking every strategy on top of each other.
Oh, what about Nightmare maps?
Nightmare maps work with Mirages, yes.
And even the like
Or
doubling
what do you
it,
mean?
like well, so you could have like, I can't remember, or I actually don't fully know the fully name of it, but there's like you said in the Q&A with Ziggy that you can do a full Mirage, right? Like fully Mirage map.
I
Wait for that part of the interview. Ellie hit league, woohoo. I assume. All right. I mean, I assume by context clues here that that's addressed later, but I assume you're talking about that thing where it treats everything as the same damage type, any added damage, but added damage that's on a skill gem shouldn't behave the exact same way as added damage you get on jewels and weapons and stuff like that. If it does, that's an oversight and they'll definitely be fixing it, because otherwise that would be just absolutely disgusting.
don't see any reason that wouldn't work with the Nightmare map, but I'm not 100% certain without testing it.
And that's why.
Mirage map.
Well, that's why I was
Like, how
curious
you get
about
a fully Mirage map? Fully Mirage maps have a chance to drop from map bosses within a Mirage.
So, are you a little bit
Answer Andrew's
concerned
question.
that makes it back to tier 17 meta again? That you can fully Mirage those, but you can't on Originator maps.
Well, you're not able to apply the Egan juice, the blobs, as have been lovingly termed, to them. So I think it should be fine, but that is a valid concern.
Okay, well, I'm glad that's brought up at least and like thought about. That's definitely a concern. Another thing, we did see Cyrus in a Mirage. Are you willing to share any other like large buses like that? Like, can we see Ubers?
There is a wish that spawns. There is a wish, a relatively rare wish that is T16 plus only, that spawns.
So I take it they mentioned it in this interview. That's the downside of doing live interviews, is that you can say something and then it gets changed. But even just thinking about it for half a second when you guys started talking about it, I was instantly like, well, that's not saying. Because have you seen the numbers on Ellie Hit? It would be 98% of the people would be playing Ellie Hit. I like would just it just Nathaniel skill, I was thinking 50%. Ellie Hit of the Spectrum works the same way.
It's a random feared member in your map.
And my follow-up question then is, do they have their original drop tables?
They should work the same way.
They can drop their uniques.
Very cool. Very cool. And I'm guessing that's the, like, so if it's spawn Cyrus, I'm guessing that's the normal version of Cyrus and not the Uber version.
Yes, not Uber. The version that would show up in Feared, which I don't think is the Uber version.
No, but you can witness both, so I figured it was worth asking.
True.
Cool. So we have Mirage items are coming with like new uniques and the Coin of Restoration. Now, my question here is, we did have a sort of similar system with faded uniques from Prophecy, which altered, limb split into Cauterizer, where Cauterizer is just better than limb split in every way. Is this going to be a similar type system where the restored unique is just better in every way, or are they both usable for different purposes?
I'm sure, players will define a meta where some of them are more valuable or stronger than others, but the intent is that they are, roughly equivalent. Now, given that they do very different things, it's kind of hard to match that intent. One will probably be a bit stronger than the other.
Yeah.
But no, it's not meant to be like, this is, thing A, and then when you use the coin on it, it's thing A plus plus.
Yeah.
They're meant to be meaningfully different and equally viable.
Cool.
Yeah, from what I've seen, they look like generally the two uniques are for completely different builds. So, for example, Rustbite is like a poison themed sword, and then the fire equivalent is an ignite themed sword, or a fire dot sword.
Rustbite was the internal name for the unique sword that we showed off in the Q&A or in the live stream.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I like that. Next up, I really want to ask about Streams of the Desiccated. which in a lot of ways is competing hard with, or even replacing Mage Blood. Is it divinable? Like, can I divine Resistance Shrine to Massive Shrine? I guess that's my first question.
No, the shrine will not change with a divine orb. It works sort of like a Watcher's Eye in that respect.
Awesome. And what shrines are we not getting? Obviously, Divine Shrine, I guess.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely not Divine Shrine.
What about Echoing?
Yeah. I
Gloom.
know I'm going to disappoint some people with this
Gloom
answer,
Shrine.
but I don't really want to reveal the full list. I mean, it's going to be data mined on release, I'm sure. But
What about, can you tell us if Echoing is on there?
Well, all I can say is I still have the balance issue on me. It's like the only unique balance issue I have left. And we were talking quite a lot last week about it because we're basically looking at this thing and we're like, have we just power crept Mage Blood?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of... There's
Just real quick. Is there going to be an update to the Poison SRS guide? Yes, but frankly, the guide barely changed. If you're familiar with it, it'll be basically the same thing. We need more gem information to know what gems to replace our woke gems with, but most likely it'll just be that the woke gems are the woke gems will now become the whatever they're called, exceptional gem of the same kind or whatever. So we don't know. We don't know what they do, but probably that. And we'll probably just be going for fucking anything at a level 1 support. This is, the level 1 supports are probably the least interesting part of the entire league, because most cases, for me at least, as spells, most cases I'm trading a 14% more damage multiplier for a 20% more damage multiplier. So, I mean, I'll take it. But it's still just, you know, it's still only like 6 to 8% more damage unless you're an attack build. So whatever.
There's a lot of interesting things you can do with it because it's basically, the downside is it only applies to Shrine while you have no flask active. But to be honest, there's like a lot of ways you can still take advantage of that downside. Like, for example, you can take the King of the Mist +1 ring slot, and an extra ring is certainly juicy. You can use Tincture still, you can use Instant Flasks. So the downside isn't as punitive as it may first seem on paper. And then if you look at what the shrines actually grant, like a ton of them grant completely cracked buffs. And you'd also, unfortunately, this is a little bit of a combo item because you're always going to be comboing it with something like the Gal. You might use Blunderbore, but basically you'd want to stack as much shrine effect as possible on top. So yeah, there's certainly, this item is crazy, and the balance is still in progress, and it's probably going to end up being giga rare for like very specific combinations. But
Good.
yeah, there are crazy shrines on it for sure.
I gave
Literally what
Andrew
we
a
need.
problem.
Is more tier zeros. That's what everyone's been asking for.
I'm super excited. It does look super
Like,
fun.
give me
and at
something
least
super rare,
Mage, like, or the belt is a very competitive slot, right? So that is a good thing.
Sure.
Cool. Glad we got that. Don't nerf it too much. It looks super fun. Very big fan. Right. So
One thing I did want to say, because I mentioned this on, like, you know, I was asked a question in Discord, but I want to mention it on like a more public platform, is the just to confirm it, the belt chooses an offensive and a defensive shrine. So you're never going to get, you know, like brutal and diamond together. Double offensive buffs doesn't happen, double defensive doesn't happen.
okay, cool. Not even a small chance.
No, it's one offensive, one defensive.
That'd be cool. Acceleration echoing. Brrr.
That belt seems really cool, but also like, I don't know if it's better than Mage Blood. It's just different, but it's certainly another belt on level with worth consideration.
All right. Well, speaking of power, the next topic that I want to cover a little bit is borrowed power. And we've been seeing that, like, that's been the meta for a while now. And the main borrowed power we're getting this league is the imbued gems, which are also directly competing with 21 gems
Fucking hate that,
and Val
man.
gems.
That would just make
So
I
bad.
wanted to hear you talk a little bit about the design intent here when you're choosing like the borrowed power and how it's going to be implemented.
Well, I wouldn't say there's necessarily like this is the only borrowed power you're getting this league, because there's a ton of new currency items coming from Mirage, which are all giving, in essence, like a little bit of borrowed power here and there.
Okay.
But yes, these imbued gems are definitely one of like
The weakest ever?
the bigger sources. They
No,
also
the
tend to
weakest
favor
ever.
attack builds, I'd say, because they care less about getting that level 21 as opposed to just being level 20.
Yeah. Fair.
Do you think you could make them level 10
You
supports
have like a
instead of level 1?
baseline for
Could we at least do that?
what sort of power level, I guess maybe in like a more damage sense, that you're aiming for borrowed power, where I'd say, on top of my head, I would say Mercenary is probably where we had the most borrowed power, right? With probably the Doriani thing not maybe being superintended. But do you have like a rough
Probably.
number in mind for borrowed power per league?
Well, I wouldn't even necessarily say that we need to have borrowed power every league, but it completely depends on the league mechanic, to be honest. It's like Mercenaries could allow for a lot more borrowed power because it actually made things more difficult at the same time, whereas most leagues' borrowed power are just pure power creep in that sense. But I don't think there's like any hard and fast rules here, to be honest.
Like, just to, for clarity's sake, I guess, like the place that imbued gems came from, as far as the design goal that I wanted to fulfill, is I wanted people to have 2 decision points when choosing a wish, not just like what the wish does in the area, but the imbued gems all come from the sigils associated with the wish. Like if you want to get the red imbued gem, you click the wish with the red sigil, and that's what causes monsters in that area to have a chance to drop the red imbued gem.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the red currency that creates them. And that means that like maybe there's a wish that you wouldn't normally otherwise take, but you're trying to farm for the red gem, so you're going to take it. And I wanted to have 2 axes of choice for all of the wishes, and that's where this came from. And it just also happened to be like, oh, and this can be, you know, some of the borrowed power that we might want to put in the league otherwise.
Are these going to be fairly plentiful, as in you'll get like a decent amount per day? Because obviously hitting the exact gem you want looks like it's going to be quite hard, and a lot of people are worried that this is going to be something that's like 2 or 5 divine per coin.
I can't really predict how expensive they'll end up being. I would say, also it's hard to say how many you'll get per day, because some people run 2 maps in a day and some people run 50.
Yeah.
You definitely could get 1 or more a day at a reasonable rate if you're playing quite a bit. I don't know. It's a rabbit hole question.
That's fair.
kind of.
It's a tough one. I was actually going to have this a rapid fire question, but I care about it so much that
Did you just say you definitely could get 1 or more a day if you play a decent amount? I was hoping like people like me who are degenerates would be walking away with like, well, probably like at least half as many as I could self-level my own gems. So like at least like 15 or so, because I can level about 30 gems in a day. And so if I can at least find half the ones I use and only have to buy the other half, that would be an okay rate. Well, just to level 20, because you don't have to flip them anymore, right? Like we just buy holy relics and then you put 9 in your offhand at once, right? So I was rounding. I can usually level like 3 times because you don't flip them anymore. So I'm just going holy relics from level 1 to level 20, done. Right? Nine in the offhands? Yeah. A bow and a Maloney's quiver. You put a bow on and a Maloney's in your offhand, and then you've got 9 per time. And so not really 30, because technically I can do that 3 times on like a good day, right? A good day I can do that 3 times. It used to be that you had to flip them all, so I would only get 1.5, because you would have to do all of them, level to 20, flip them all, do them again, one shot at corruptions, buy a new set, level them, flip them, go to bed, wake up, level them, get a shot at corruptions, right? But now you don't have to do that anymore. Or sometimes less than 3 times a day because they all hit 20 and then I forget about it for like 3 hours and then realize, oh no, I haven't been leveling my gems.
That I moved it up. Because we're talking about borrowed power. So, probably my favorite item of all time is that which was taken. And it was taken from us. Is there any chance that it can become that which was given back? It was so cool.
Well,
What
I
is
can't.
that?
Well,
What's
to be
taken?
fair, the unique art still exists because I'm pretty sure that ended up being reused as the new jewel from the King and the Mist.
It is.
The lighter meaning.
Oh,
But
I remember
think that which was taken was definitely a borrowed power source from the Affliction League. It sort of only made sense in the context of charms as well. It was sort of giving you extra charms on top of what you could already get from the Primalist Ascendancy. And it wasn't really doing anything novel. It was the charm system was just like a thrown together fun passive tree mechanic that was just stealing effects from all over the game. It isn't really providing anything new. And another point to that is PoE 1 sort of has a little bit of a problem where at the high end game, you basically just stack a ton of limit 1 unique jewels. We already have so many of them. You've got like Watcher's Eye and your Forbidden Jewels and your Timeless Jewels. So I wouldn't really want to just keep on adding more and more limit 1 jewels that every single builder is required to end up using.
Fair.
Yeah. That's fair. I just, yeah, I loved it a little bit because of the almost like soulbound like quality that it like, especially in ever really approaches what you're doing next very differently. I did want to mention that as well, actually. I've always generally been against soulbound, but you guys used that, in my opinion, in a really good way for Sanctum, where the
Yes, I
relics
agree.
were like soulbound power, and I guess part of that is why they were allowed to be so powerful. Is that something you guys have discussed bringing back in the future? Not necessarily with Sanctum relics, but with another mechanic.
I agree with all of that, by the way. I generally speaking hate soulbound things. I think that's stupid and I should be able to buy and sell almost everything in existence. But the Relic League specifically, how they did their borrowed power with the like soulbound ones you had to find yourself by playing, that felt good. That didn't feel like I was having something taken away from me. So there are times you can do soulbound stuff.
I'm generally of the opinion that I prefer most character power is tradable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was fine to experiment with it for a league, but I don't think there's really been any discussions of bringing something similar back. I don't know how you feel.
I kind of agree. One of the things that drew me to Path of Exile in the first place was the, which is funny because I now play mostly group found or solo self found, but was definitely the economy aspect of it. Like, I really like being able to find weird niches in the economy and try and exploit them and take advantage of them. And, items that are untradeable can never be that niche. So that's not to say that it's like never something that we'll ever experiment with again. It didn't have that kind of reaction. But there has to be a really good reason.
Yeah.
Generally, the assumption is character power, outside of your ascendancy and passive trade and such, obviously, itemized character power should be tradable.
Cool. So I noticed that was pretty much the only time that cropped up. Final question about borrowed power. Have you ever considered Foulborn, Forbidden Flame, and Flesh with the Frisia Ascendancy? They're quite liked by the community, but they outside of Frisia, obviously now we have the Scion, but outside of that, they're not really used.
Yeah, I think the thing is, when we were coming up with the Frisian Ascendancies, they were sort of just like what we could gather from all the other places in the game and throw them together and make a cohesive Ascendancy out of that. So a lot of the effects from the Frisian Ascendancies are from the base Ascendancies and from a bunch of other unique items. So for that reason, I wouldn't really think it makes sense for them to be part of the core game because they aren't really their own unique thing necessarily.
Yeah. Oh, makes sense.
It's fair.
Final Mirage related question. So Most seasons or leagues that we get now, we do have some sort of.
Am I correct that Void Forge is unavailable this league? I don't think so. Why would Void Forge be unavailable? What makes you think you're not going to be able to get a Void Forge? It's only the cards on the beach heads? No. It's an Uber drop, isn't it? Drops from Uber Elder and also from this card. It actually should never have been dropping from this card, or this card should only have dropped from doing Uber Elder, in my opinion. I think it's perfectly fine to have boss drops as cards, but if you do boss drops as cards, those cards should also only drop from the bosses. And I say this as somebody who avoids bossing like the plague. It's not my thing. I don't want to boss. I don't like it. But if I were a bosser, I'd be really pissed off if half of my profits were just gone because some div card that people can just fucking farm in Haunted Mansion or something drops the key item from this Uber boss, right? Like that's trash.
Sort of like league boss. I can't remember the name of the boss that we're getting this time.
Suresh.
Suresh. Yeah. So generally with bosses like these, they're at like quite a low power level compared to Ubers. Do you think we'll ever see a Uber version of a league boss that is like actual on par with the 10 Ubers?
Ooh.
We sort of did that a little bit in the T17 Nightmare maps. You'll notice that all of the bosses there are just like Lysair and Katarina and Utrecht and all that. But as opposed to like standalone Ubers that don't have any like modifiers in the area themselves, like I guess we could do that at some point. It would be a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. I think though, what can often be lost is, you know, in conversations with more entrenched and experienced players, is that, you know, Ubers are really hard.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, people can definitely get builds to the point where they just like AFK stand and tank them, or they, you know, 4-shot them in like 10 seconds or whatever. But most players aren't doing that. And we don't necessarily want, you know, the new shiny league mechanic content that you know, less experienced player might be diving headfirst into to be something that is basically outside of their grasp entirely. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, we have the boss balance for the league mechanic bosses in exactly the right place. Maybe they do need to be a little tougher, but yeah. Also, it does feel strange, and I can't come up with a good reason why it feels strange to me. And usually, one of the things I've kind of learned in design is usually if I can't come up with a good reason why I feel the way I do, that usually means like there isn't one, and it's, you know, a subjective thing that I probably shouldn't hold on to. But it feels strange to me to introduce a boss and its Uber version in the same patch at the same time.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like, I feel like Suresh within the league should probably be a static difficulty, and then if it goes core later on, then yeah, we can do all sorts of weird things like Ubers.
Yeah, I could see that. I guess I also thought of it from the point of view of, for example, like Exarch, right? You have the quest version that's like doable a lot easier, so that it is more accessible for people that are like getting there for the first time. But that might be like, you know, especially for advanced players, a little bit too easy. Just wanted to bring it up as a thought.
Okay.
Next, we're pretty much done with Mirage there, except for rapid fire questions later. But next up, I want to talk about game and skill balance, particularly starting with the league start meta. And I'd say endgame skills and stuff, like there's always something new that we get to play with.
Okay, hang on. I gotta pause for a second. I just can't. I can't die here twice in a row. I can't do it again. Oh, I don't mean that I'm not capable of dying here twice in a row. I mean, I really don't fucking want to.
You are condemned. Delight in your gilded dungeon.
Okay. There we go. All right. Okay.
But league starters have been, with some exceptions, it's been pretty stale for quite a while. So I just want to hear you talk about that a little bit, especially a thing that's brought up a lot is just like things that are very little played, just give them a 20, 30, 40% buff. Like there are things that we don't really see used at all.
Ooh.
It's something that I definitely want to focus on more in the next few patches. I feel pretty strongly about it too, but it's also something you have to be really careful about, because for a lot of people, you know, leveling with whatever skill they've become really familiar and with leveling, you know, be it Caustic Arrow or, I don't know, Poison Concoction, whatever. There's, you know, I can list a dozen different good leveling skills, is very comfy. And it's like an easy way to get into a new league where maybe the end game has changed and there's a new league mechanic and there's a bunch of skill buffs and nerfs and stuff. And, you know, you have this old reliable you can fall back on. So like, how do you make a leveling meta less stale while also making sure that there's still old reliables for people to fall back on if they don't want to have to approach leveling with completely fresh eyes because level.
Octavian, what he just described exactly the I like just give the underused ones buffs. Don't give like you just don't nerf the old leveling stuff and just buff other things instead.
Leveling isn't their most favorite part of the game, you know?
Right.
And I'm not saying there's no changes that can be made, but it is a hard balance to strike.
Sure, but that's a particular concern when it comes to nerfs, right? Like I think what a lot of people want is to see like a big buff to skills that are completely underused or hasn't been touched for a very long time.
Yes.
Not necessarily that you need to have everything perfectly balanced.
Well, I would say that in the past couple of leagues, we haven't done as much meta balance as we've typically done and like historically. Like, for example, the focus this league was more, we were doing a whole batch of like holy skills. So taking a close look at everything related to that like holy archetype that already exists in the game. So you'll see there's quite a lot of buffs in the patch to things like Dominating Blow and Absolution and Static Strike and Holy Flame Totem. So
but not Holy Relic.
We certainly have touched a lot of skills, we just haven't touched all of them, of course. It's mostly a time constraint thing, to be honest. Like, I would love to be able to go through and literally just change every single skill in the game every patch. But well, from my point of view, I mean, this might be a failing, but I have very little loss aversion. So if Poisonous Concoction for some reason got deleted, I wouldn't care at all. I just want.
It's a dangerous.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing to say. But
I love that personally.
I'm attracted to the game because I like coming back each league and it just feeling completely different. I like change. Change is what I like.
Same.
So I would love to just be able to like massively, radically change everything without any thought for the consequences of how people feel about if something's gone up or down and that type of thing.
See, but you got to temper that with making sure there's, you know, all reliable fallbacks for people to come back to. And it's basically like what Andrew said at the start of that, where like it really is just a matter of constraints. Like we have, you know, GGG has a very rapid development cycle. We have 4 months in which to make all the changes that we want to do in the next expansion, and there was a lot in 328. We just didn't get a massive skill rework into it, but definitely it's something that's on our radar.
Is it something that you think you could ever do mid-league, that where you're just like, you know what, these 10 skills are getting 10% more damage?
I mean, even if it's just purely buffs, you end up with FOMO, right? Because people say like, oh, I would have started that. Oh, I would have played that. I would have adapted to the economy differently. I would have adapted to my strategy differently if you know, and like maybe if you really made really insignificant changes, that isn't the case. But then why are you making the changes?
Right, but these changes are the same for everybody, so I don't think that is too much of an issue.
Nah, you're wrong, Ziz.
Yeah, maybe I'm overstating it, but I'm personally very cautious when it comes to.
I agree. I agree and disagree with both of them. Because, like, functionally on how everything works, Ziz is 100% right. A buff to a bunch of stuff mid-league wouldn't negatively affect anybody. It would actually either have no effect or benefit you, depending on what you wanted. However, that doesn't mean that people's reaction to something like that happening would be a good thing. It absolutely wouldn't. People would definitely react exactly how Octavian said they will react. He's 100% right. Even though it would be an okay thing to do, it actually wouldn't be an okay thing to do. Right? Mostly just because people are stupid. And that's just how you have to, that's just how it is.
To mid-league changes that actually change balance and content rather than just, you know, bug fixes and such.
Fair. You did bring up new gems, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about how these are developed now, and especially when it comes to like the baseline power of them. Like what sort of baseline level of power, or how do you try to avoid that they're not like dead on arrival? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I can sort of talk about how a skill is balanced. So, for example, in this patch cycle, Octavian designed the majority of the holy skills. So, basically, he'd make the skill, and then he'd give me an issue to sanity check the balance. So, how I'd go about that typically is I wouldn't even look at damage first. Damage is the last thing you look at for the balance of a skill. So mostly it's
I agree.
Check that it's functional, check that what all of its interactions are, like support gems, etc. Figure out what all the scaling factors are, like for example, does it get more damage if you scale up area of effect or multiple projectiles or duration, that type of thing. And then basically play test it at a variety of, well, I typically test in like early game, I'll usually test it like the docks in Act 3. And then late game, I'll probably be testing at like level 80 in like a T10ish map. Okay. So not like super duper in-game builds for these at all. But basically, I'll just like mess around with my damage until I feel comfortable to see if it like clears fine. Yeah. So basically, get all of the crit chance, area of effect, all of those bells and whistles in place before even starting to look at the damage. And then after that, it's sort of like comparing to pre-existing skills is usually a good way to start.
Sure.
As in getting a baseline for the balance. And I will say that I typically try to set the numbers a bit higher than what I think is correct relative to pre-existing skills in the game.
Right.
Like, for example, in the last set of skills we released, Kinetic Fusillade is very strong in my opinion. Yeah. And I did league start it.
It is.
And I might have forgot to nerf it this patch, but...
I might have forgot. Are you starting it again?
Nah. I'll be playing something on the Templar for sure.
Okay.
Kinetic Fusillade Templar. Well, that's fine.
Oh, carry on.
I was just going to say, just to give context to that damage last thing, it's not because it's the least important factor. It's because if you don't have all the other factors in place, then you can't judge the damage.
Yeah.
Because like, if the AoE of the skill does impact single target damage and it's not correct and it needs to be adjusted or changed, then it doesn't matter what damage you set at that point. If you go back and change something earlier in the chain, so to speak, now you no longer know what the output is. So you need to get all of the inputs correct, and then you can judge the output.
Makes sense. With new skills,
balancing inputs and outputs. I just spent 7 weeks doing this. Fantastic.
You feel that with Kinetic Rain, we saw that it was very, very strong in the preview when Ziggy played it, etc. And then it later got nerfed. are you ever worried that you're trying to be too safe so that sometimes new skills are underperforming a little bit because you don't want them to completely dominate either?
Well, I sort of disagree with the sentiment that Kinetic Rain is a weak skill.
Well,
did
no,
level
but it
with all
did
the
get
ones-
nerfed before we got to play it. It was more
Well,
worrying.
the thing is, the mistake there was that the player should never have seen the gem
Right.
with that numbers, which
That
was
was-
my fault. So
That was my mistake.
Yeah.
Like as Andrew said, I usually will design the skill and set it up and then send it to him for balance review. It did not go to Andrew for balance review before it went to Ziggy for gameplay footage, and
Right.
that was a mistake on my part.
Cool. I was just curious about it. I wanted to bring it up. Well, that's it for skill gems there. So I have an Ignite related question. So Defiled Forces was changed massively, and that did have a bit of a stranglehold on Ignite, where it was sort of like the correct way to play it. So changing that is good. However, that does put Ignite maybe in a lot of ways behind other dot archetypes. Do you have any plans to like rework Ignite now that Defiled Forces is gone?
well, it's more of a question of like,
Defiled forces? Was it meant to be something else? Oh, no. It used to be something else. Oh, right. It used to be that thing. Right. That's that one. Yep. Okay. Sure. Sure.
usually we don't decide what we're doing for balance like straight away. As in, like, we're starting to figure out what we want to do for 329 now, but we're not necessarily figuring out what we're doing for 329 balance yet. We'd rather see how things play out at 328 launch, and then after a few weeks we'll be able to judge, like, what are the type of things that no one's playing, what are the type of things that are weak, and what are the type of things we should be, like, focusing on improving for 329. So
Yes,
Ignite
Mage Blood will be a little
surely
easier
might
to
be one of those things,
sneak
but not to
in.
say there might be new exceptional supports, there might be new uniques, there might be other new interactions which do cause Ignite to be, like, quite strong this league. But yeah, it's certainly something that we'd look at if it's weak, like you say.
And I would say that we have more of a structured approach to that than maybe we've had in the past, where like now we have this structure where we look at the worst, the least played couple of ascendancies every league and try and get some buffs in there. Probably what we need to do is start, looking at the list of skills and find the ones down at the bottom. Maybe we need to even extend that out to like looking for archetypes that are underplayed. And yeah, Ignite could be on that list. It's something that now that we have this like dedicated PoE1 team split, we can be focusing more resources on that earlier in the development cycle, and so catch more things like this.
Okay, that's very good to hear. Also, apparently, Virus sent me a message about chat. They really want some assurances on the new skills, and he said people really want to play the new skills. Can you ask to make sure, like, are you happy with the balance of the new skills? Like, are they strong and good for starting?
Well, I can say for Holy Strike in particular, before I'd even started balance testing it, one of our QA was like, this skill needs to be nerfed by 4 times on the Twilight Strand. So,
Okay.
trust me, it is still better than Glacial Hammer was for Templar start. But yeah, it's a pretty weird scaling skill though. Like, it scales similarly to Animate Weapon of Self-Reflection. So,
Cool.
Interesting.
Well, I hopefully that is assuring for new people. Next up is the most important question. Transfigured Explosive Arrow.
I was going over options with this with a couple of people in QA, and I have an idea that I want to pitch to programmers.
Okay, cool.
Pitch it to
I
us
will
right
not say
now.
the specifics of, because it may not exist if it can't work.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
But more broadly, rather than just specifically on Transfigured EA, like I said in the Q&A, it's a kind of a personal crusade of mine that every active skill in the game have at least one alt gem variant, ideally eventually 2. because
Yeah,
I
good.
really like
I
the
like
alt-gen
that.
system. I think it's very cool, and I would like to keep iterating on it.
Yeah, just last week, one of our like senior monster designers, he loves Fireball. He'll just play it every single league, and he's been petitioning me for a long time for various transfigured Fireball versions. So
Oh,
one of
cool.
our other designers, like after our discussion at lunch, went back to his desk and just straight up versioned the issue to 329. So I guess it's in the version. It must be happening.
Yeah,
That's
we
awesome.
have. There's actually a handful that were partially implemented or, at least designed for 328 that didn't quite make it in. So, we already have some transfigured skills that have some work done for 329. Like, there will be more transfigured skills in 329.
Very cool.
Cool.
That's exciting. Actually, I wanted to, while we're talking about gems, one thing that was asked about a lot was elemental hit and the new breach ascendancy that converts like cold and lightning to fire. I can't remember the exact wording on it. Does that work?
Here we go. Again, how most skills in the game are programmed. I know that this all got sorted out, but how most skills in the game are programmed is the like added that's described as an added on the skill isn't actually an added, so in most cases it shouldn't actually like care about that thing, right? Like it's even though it says added and for most cases it's functionally the same, it shouldn't actually work, right?
On gems like discharge.
And items, yeah, it says added because functionally, generally on the player's side, it just makes more sense to say added, like it rather than just that's the base damage of the skill, right? But it doesn't actually function as an added normally. But yeah, like quivers, rings, jewels, anywhere else that it gloves, anywhere else that there's like flat, that's added, right? And that should function. Apparently there was a problem with this one. They've sorted it out afterwards and gone back on what they're about to say. I haven't actually listened to this yet. So they've fixed this, but like generally speaking, outside of elemental hit, that's how most of the other skills, or at least how they're meant to work. I guess up until now, it's not really been an issue if they programmed it another way.
Ellie hit. Wild strike.
It works specifically on elemental hit because that skill is implemented in a very weird way where it's granting added damage instead of base damage. And we had a discussion last week about whether we should change this or not. And the conclusion to that discussion was it's going to be busted for 328 and we'll probably rework Ellie hit in 329. So have fun for a league, potentially.
I'm so glad I asked.
And just to clarify on what added damage means in this context, damage gained as extra is not added damage.
Yeah.
For the context of the Breach Lord Ascendancy, it's things like when a ring mod might say 5 to 10 added physical damage to attacks. That is what added damage is in this context.
Yeah. I think Mark 1, who is the arbiter of all descriptions in Path of Exile, we have this confusion as well. Also note that any added damage that is local to a weapon is not converted for this ascendancy. There has been a reminder text added to the bloodline for this. It's just historically, basically what Mark 1 told me is it's always been wrong on weapons and it should never have been described as added damage in the first place.
Yeah.
But
Wait,
it
what?
is that way.
Sorry?
Basic line for this, it's just historically, basically what Mark 1 told me is it's always been wrong on weapons and it should never have been described as added damage in the first place.
Yeah.
But it is that way, yeah. So any local added damage on a weapon is actually base damage and not affected by this bloodline.
Interesting.
Okay.
When I
That I didn't know.
when I pitched this stat to
either.
Mark 1, he gave me a very withering look.
Yeah, I mean, especially with like new players, I've seen so many new players trying like Ethereal Knives or Blade Vortex with like adds physical damage and stuff, and I'm like, no. So yeah, I see the confusion. Next up, when it comes to
Why do you prefer a relic over poison ranged animate weapon? Ranged animate weapon has a bunch of busy work. You gotta like do stuff. There are extra buttons. When you play Holy Relic of Conviction, you could play it while you're missing one hand entirely, and your other hand is doesn't even have 4 of its fingers, and you've just got like a nubbin on one thing for like a button, and one of your eyes doesn't work, and the other one like tracks out randomly to just look out the window, and you can still just scream around in tier 17 maps, not dying and killing everything. You can't fucking do that with animate weapon.
Balance, and especially when it comes to like the new coins, there are items like chains of command that add an inherent ability to an item that isn't a gem that we can like put a new link on. Are items like that being left a little behind this patch?
I mean, arguably, generally speaking, League mechanics will favor certain builds over others, so I don't see that as like a huge issue. I mean, that said, there is a quirk of how the imbued gems work, which is potentially relevant for skills like, I don't know, Ice Storm from Whispering Ice, where so there's this limitation where you can't put more than one imbued gem into a set of socket links. So like into your chest piece or your boots or your gloves, you can only have one imbued gem at a time. Yeah. And the reason for that is because the support effect on the imbued gem is a support, as in it is supporting everything in the links. So if you had another active skill in there and you had, say, Fire Pen imbued, both active skills are supported by Fire Pen, not just the one with the imbued skill.
Yeah.
And so you can't have multiple imbued, because then you'd be able to have, what, 7 6 links in your chest piece? That's a little much. Or 6 links? Regardless. So if you have an active skill socketed in your chain of commands with a support effect, it...
Huh. I wasn't expecting that to work. What can I do about that? What can I do with that? Give me a second.
That would just make life.
This might be the first league where Zoomancer is actually a viable build. Like, I know Gazzy has pushed Zoomancer on people for like 4 years, but it's been trash. It's always been trash, and he should never have been pushing it on people. It might actually be good this time. Will unleash spells, double cocks, double all sorts of things. It just so sounds nuts. I mean, I guess Death's Oath could be slightly better just because you actually get a real 6-link skill. Yeah. Yeah, you actually get like a proper real 6-link. But the important bit is cast on crit, I think. I think the actual important bit is cast on crit. There's no more woke cock? Sure, but there is 40% cooldown. I'm suddenly getting it back. Yeah. Also, the cast when stun builds. Same for them. Cast when stun often used essentially 2 5-links or sometimes 3 4-links in their chest. Now all of those get an extra link, all of the different spells. Huh. So the best thing for us is if I can get, so there's a few things here. It means if I can get minion life or meat shield, doesn't matter. If I can get one of those two here, then we get to put Empower in for free. And so you can see this is only level 23 right now, right? But you want it to be level 25. If you can't get it to level 25, then there's no point in having any more levels. And you couldn't really do that without either a corrupted, well, this is already in a corrupted +2, right? And it's still only 23. I could make it 24 with a corrupted gem. You still need Empower, right? So if I can take my Animate Guardian of Smiting, forget about getting it to level 21, and then put on either Minion Life or Meat Shield at level 1 and use an Empower in the other socket, then both of them will get an Empower. My Raised Spectre will still want to be 21 because more levels for Spectres is better. And you can only have it on one of them anyway. And the Animate Guardian is the guy who never dies. The Spectres sometimes die. Yeah, you would want minion life, but I would take either because there's a lot of blue gems that will support it. So you'll take whatever you get, but minion life would be the better one. And you only get 1 blue coin a day, right? And extra sockets? Oh yeah. So like for instance on Lancing Steel of Spraying, we have 2 options that could both be level 1. We don't actually want another link here at all. We don't want, even if you gave it, if you there's just like, even if I could just for free pick a support gem and guarantee it, I actually don't want another link here. Another link here would cause more problems than it solves. The only extra link that wouldn't cause more problems is Life Tap, but that also wouldn't help us because that like solves a problem that we already have to overcome everywhere else anyway, unless we like support everything with Life Tap, which feels like a big waste, right? Reduced mana. I mean, I guess you could use Inspiration, but like realistically, you're just going to have 2 minus mana rings on anyway. And by the time you do that, the cost of Lancing Steel of Spraying is 1, and you've got mana gain on hit. But it was never Lancing Steel of Spraying that was the biggest issue, right? It's the Offering that costs 41 mana, and the Frost Blink that costs too much when you've got it until you get minus manas, and the Desecrates and the SRS is going, and everything else that goes off, right? Like everything else that goes off is the problem you need to fix. And we fix that by having this be either free or 1 mana so that you can always cast it, and having mana gain on hit to get the mana back for everything else, right? You could use faster attacks, but again, it's just not a big deal, right? Like nothing really helps. But these 2 gems also don't need to be leveled or quality. They mean nothing to us. Level or quality on these 2 gems means nothing to us. We do not care, right? Cull already comes from here, from the Kingmaker. So the important bit is that you get a gem socket back, right? Which could either be an Abyss socket or something else. Any mana reductions you can put on Bone Offering. Yeah, you could put Inspiration. The red. Returning doesn't give any extra projectiles. It gives projectile speed. Lancing Steel of Spraying itself is what gives the extra projectiles. You want to make spells for a guard skill? There's just no guard skill that I care about, but yeah, there is. You could make use of a guard skill. Like for instance, let's say you get Return Proch. Well, I can now move Whirling Blades in here. It'll still be fine, right? That frees up this bit here. In a Sparlan, we just use SRS procs to both heal us or heal our minions and get Feeding Frenzy. But I could put Feeding Frenzy as a support on Summon Raging Spirits. And then we've suddenly got 2 sockets, and now you could have like a Steel Skin cast when damage taken, or a Steel Skin automation if you want, right? So you could go that way. You could also move the Frost Blink over instead of the Whirling Blades to get it out of the gloves, and then you could use 2 socket Pits of Command, right? Yeah, we also don't have any fucking armor, so Molten Shell's kind of gross. I've got 4,000 armor. Right? Well, you wouldn't take 3 passive points back. You would just have an extra jewel. Even if you're poison capped, jewels are disgusting, right? You'd just be looking for a jewel that had life and double flat. Like, give me double flat. Like, fuck you. Right? Or you use an extra unique jewel of some kind, right? There are even like smalls that I would use if I didn't need them, right? Is hex stuff going to be? See, we couldn't benefit from Hex Touch though, right? Because let's say you get Hex Touch on Lancing Steel, what do you replace? I need Return, I need Wither, I need Life Gain on hit. Oh yeah, you could do it on Temper Shield. Get small clusters to fit haste potentially. We could maybe fit level 20 Val haste, maybe. Oh, do you have a leveling path building for this build? Yes, but it's not updated to the current plan yet. The current plan, the new plan will be to level as Absolution instead of SRS, but otherwise everything else will stay pretty much the same. I believe YouTube has the command. I think !! Relic should link you to the page. Does it? Or is it ! HR? Or there it is. Yep. There's the thing right there. There's a full written guide that will get updated in the next day or 2 at most. 2 days is like 2 days from now is like the deadline. So I'm hoping that we get some gem data so I can fully fill it out before then. But if not, we will update it without our gem data. I don't even need the gem data. Just like screenshots of the level 20s or even just a fucking list. Oh no, we're not getting, actually confirmed we're not getting them. See, that's such a stupid thing because we're going to have the full list beforehand anyway. It's not going to be something we all find on the day. It's going to be data mined before the servers go live. Like, just give me the teasers. Like, it's gonna just give me the teasers. They're gonna get data mined before the server is even live, so just give me the teaser.
It would affect the skill from the chain of commands, I think.
Hang on, just looking for like what else might be useful for us specifically here. I don't think there's a lot of okay, so the particular information that it will support all skills and links doesn't help us a ton. Life Tap is going to be ultra comfy. Yeah, Life Tap would be good. It is the highest mana costing skill we have, but also with the amount of less mana we have on things, even just inspiration would be okay as well. Like if you gave it inspiration, it would go from 41 to like 28 or 30, which would be really nice as well. Like life tap would obviously be slightly better on the mana, but you would take either. But also, if we're only getting 1 coin a day, we're just imbuing cast on death with our luck. Yo, I will imbue cast on death on a portal gem, and then I will run it on every character for the whole league. Get fucked. Portal doesn't go to level 20. No! You're right, it doesn't. Oh no. Ruined.
It's going to affect everything in the support links, at least, or in the link group.
Interesting. And just to make sure, like, just to like double triple check, like if you had like multiple war cries, but they're unlinked entirely, like it's per item that you can have these, right? It's not like per link.
It is per item, yes.
Yeah.
So you can have 1 imbued gem in your boots, 1 in your gloves, 1 in your helmet, 1 in your chest, so on.
Yeah. I was this French guy wanted me to double check.
This French guy. Who was that?
Another question I have is Spellslinger, Auto Exert, etc. They reserve mana and cost mana to use.
Yes.
I just want to hear you talk about your philosophy on this and why. Like, is that necessary?
It's not.
Well, I guess the philosophy is more like, should triggered skills cost mana, which we decided yes they should a while back. Now,
I agree
how
with that.
does Spellslinger differ to something like Cast on Crit? Because you could argue that the cost on Spellslinger is the reservation.
Yes, that would be my
the
argument.
cost on Cast on Crit is the trigger condition. So they have, to me, the reservation of Spellslinger is, and Auto Exert, is sort of like, that is the cost you're paying for the easy trigger condition, whereas the mana cost should still be paid on all skills. I mean, you could argue Warcries are a little different because they're not spells, so maybe our trigger philosophy is different for Warcries compared to spells, but precedents like the Eternal Apple, I guess.
Right.
Well, yeah, Warcries I could go either way, but I think for all spells you should be paying the cost for them.
The big cost is also a gem slot, though, right? That is like, especially with how powerful gems are and the new ones, it's quite a lot of power there.
Yeah, but I guess ideally the damage multiplier and the cooldown and the reservation costs on Spellslinger would all be balanced around that. We did make pretty big buffs to Spellslinger last.
Well, he instantly changed my mind on that. I was on Ziz's side right at the beginning, and I was like, yeah, fuck that. It doesn't need to. And then he started talking, and I'm like, yeah, no, you're right, actually, my bad. I do think that the argument now becomes, hey, Spellslinger's still not very good, eh? Like, could we do something about Spellslinger? What I'd like to see is for its mana cost to just get lowered. It just be a little less, please.
Patch, I believe, when we looked at wands.
Yes, there was. But like, for example, something like Mana Force Arrows
Not
doesn't
a
have a
lot less
reservation. It
either.
only
Just
has the
like
mana
a
cost.
little. It's close.
Not that we want one.
But
No, the
yeah,
reservation
it's
is
a
what
little
I'm
bit
talking
hard to
about.
compare because you're comparing triggered spells to triggered attacks. Not to say that Mana Forged Arrow has a very unique cost. Its cost is spending mana, so that is its cost as opposed to just a straight up reservation. Yeah.
Fair. Right. So guard skills when it comes to balance. Obviously, last patch we had the breach hands and stuff, so that was interesting there. But they aren't something that's staying in the game. So especially Molten Shell and Arcane Cloak are very dominant there. Are there any plans to add more new guard skills or rework others?
How do you make your absolution so aggressive moment when attack
I
shit
feel
until I
like-
stop?
Historically,
Okay, I noticed this as well, and I've been playing around it, and thank you for complaining about that, because it means I can mention it in the video. So you might notice that I'm stopping a little bit more often than it feels like I need to be. And that is because if I keep running once they've stopped attacking, and I do what you're talking about, they barely attack on the way past, right? Like they spend most of their time trying to keep up with me. I don't know exactly what the cooldown is or like what the condition is for changing, but when I hit something, they appear to get aggressive for an amount of time. So I can hit something and then I don't have to actually hang around and wait for that group to die because they're already now aggressive and they'll cast until it dies or until I've completely outranged them and they have to port to me. I noticed that early in leveling, but I hadn't really thought about it until you said something just then. That is something I should definitely include in the video to make the leveling feel better for people. You do not have to hang around and wait for the pack to die, but you do actually have to hit that pack, right? Otherwise they will run through it to try and get to you instead because they're like out of combat mode or whatever. I don't know what exactly is happening behind the scenes here because this isn't how other minions function. Right? Other minions are either just aggressive or defensive or a hybrid in the middle, and they just have an amount. And the only way to change that usually is with either Feeding Frenzy, Predator, or Meat Shield, depending on what you want. But that is not how Absolution is working. Absolution appears to get aggressive when I hit, and then go back to being defensive after an amount of time that I imagine is probably recently, the 4 seconds. If I had to guess, I'd say it's 4 seconds for the recently buff because that's what things are at. But that's just a wild guess, right? Also, Mr. Moose, thank you for the prime.
There was a time in the game where armor was perceived as being very, very weak. And to me, molten shells being very strong was almost a band-aid to armor being quite weak. And armor has progressively gotten stronger over time, and
I would argue it's still not strong enough.
Like super duper strong, but
Yeah.
molten shell has had a couple of nerfs, but it's still like, yeah, it's a perk of playing an armor build. But the issue to me is that it's sort of like if you're playing armor, you should be using molten shell. Likewise, arcane cloak is similar in the sense that one of the benefits for having, well, the problem with having mind over matter or your entire mana pool is your defenses. You don't get to use as many defensive auras such as grace and determination and discipline and all that. So it to me is like another axis for this is part of the set of all things that make up a mana defense. Whether or not mana based defenses or armor based defenses are stronger than other ones, it's like I wouldn't really be able to say either way, but it's more the case of, I guess, philosophically, should a guard skill be providing that much percentage of your total defense to your archetype? So, like, arguably what we could do is nerf Arcane Cloak and Molten Shell and then buff up armor and then buff up mana defenses, for example. Not to say that we will. I guess it just hasn't really been on our radar.
Well, I guess a lot of people
guard
also
skills
want
is
more
an
like...
interesting design space, though. I'm not like, against making new ones.
Cool. It's also, I know a lot of people want like a dex-based one, like more dex-based card seals.
It's a difficult design space though, because
it's
hard to come up with ones that aren't just, you know, shield bubble but bigger. But there's definitely stuff you could do there. It's neat.
Yeah.
I want to think of something now.
Yeah, maybe something with like using your spell suppression or something for your ovation. And speaking of gems, awakened gems are being sunset in favor of exceptional support gems. Can you talk a little bit about why the change, what this allows you to do, and also people are really curious if we still have regular GMP.
Regular GMP or awakened GMP? Just clarifying.
Is it only awakened GMP now? Like, can we still get level 38 greater multiple projectiles?
So greater volley and greater multiple projectiles are the two greater gems that are still just in the regular drop pool. They haven't changed their location at all. I think we did rename lesser multiple projectiles to multiple projectiles then,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
People are
Although
very happy with that.
Awakened GMP is sunsetted, we don't have a
Excuse me?
exceptional version
Mommy?
of greater multiple
Sorry,
projectiles.
mommy? Sorry.
At all.
Mommy?
Oh.
Interesting.
Sorry. Mommy? Sorry.
Well,
Mommy?
yes. The design philosophy behind the exceptional gems is they're supposed to be like,
I left this character logged in overnight, and I've been pausing and doing all sorts of stuff, but I literally left this character logged in since last stream. So my / played is irrelevant.
more transformative.
Whoops, yeah.
So just adding an extra
Oops.
projectile to a support to me doesn't really scream as being like super duper transformative.
There is an exceptional that was projectile, like
Yeah.
additional
Oh,
projectile
yeah.
related though, right?
There are a few exceptional gems related to projectiles. Like I think there's a greater chain and a greater fork, and
Yeah.
there's specifically one related to spell projectiles.
Yeah, there was one that was adding them. I don't remember specifically
Yeah.
what it did though. Andrew did the exceptional support gem implementation, so I only have seen issues and know things in passing.
Well, but is greater multi-strike not necessarily transformative, right? It is just more power than the original gem.
Okay, well, yeah, this is where you're getting into a fine line, but greater multi-strike is a little bit more transformative because you are committing yourself to an extra repeat.
Right. Okay.
The math on it is also a little bit weird because you start off from a lower baseline, but your final strike of your combo is stronger compared to the base gem.
Oh.
Greater Spell Echo has a similar thing going on, I think.
Right. Well, can you talk a little bit about like the design philosophy for like changing these and what that allows you to do?
Well, from like a rewards point of view, it allows us to basically give life to a bunch of bosses that may not have very valuable rewards. Not to say that all of these exceptional gems will end up being like 5 divine on trade or anything, but one of the nice things was just spreading it all over the Atlas and basically adding rewards to basically all of the in-game bosses that you do access through the Atlas.
Did we
Another
know
fun
that?
thing about them is you could start from like a lore first design a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like you
Did we know that the way to get those was just going to be generically in the Atlas from different bosses targetable like that? Like that they were going to be targetable? Because I feel like I knew they were going to be on the Atlas, but I did not know that they were going to be like specific bosses drop specific gems. That's not what he's saying. That's what I heard. Did I miss here? Let's go back 20 seconds and have another here, because the way I heard that was specific bosses will have specific gem rewards.
could be like, oh, what is the King in the Mists themes? And it's like, oh, he's got a lot of chaos damage and curses and toads. So
That's very cool.
you can merge them all together and you can make a support out of that.
Right. See, there we go.
Speaking of like adding loot, do you worry about Maven's loot table being slightly weaker now? And obviously like the witnessing bosses don't have that in the same way, or are you happy with where she is now?
So from the witnessing boss's point of view, there are two very good rewards there that are sort of novel to that. So for example, we got rid of cartographer's chisels, but Maven chisels still exist. So now Maven chisels are relatively more valuable in my opinion, because previously that 20% quantity was something you applied from chisels. Now it is inherent to your map completion.
Yeah.
But you can also get a Maven chisel on top. So Maven chisels, in my opinion, will be relatively more valuable for that reason.
I agree.
The other thing is the new astrolabes are 100% drop chance from all the memory bosses.
Oh.
But they will also, once you have the originator Voidstone for killing all of the incarnation bosses, that will allow astrolabes to drop from final map bosses in the Atlas. So Maven becomes relatively more valuable for farming astrolabes because she adds more final map bosses. As opposed
Okay.
to Maven herself, I will say that, in my opinion, Maven has the most powerful exceptional support gem on her. Maybe the rarest as well, I think.
Okay.
And we did, maybe I'm wrong and I'm about to get Twitch chat mad at me, but we did keep Awakened, Empower, Enlighten, and Enhance, right?
Yep.
You did.
So those were the 3
I think those are the only.
Awakened gems that we kept.
Like,
Yeah.
Are they still called Awakened?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, they're the only gems left that are called Awakened.
Very cool.
So
Awesome. That's that done on that topic. So obviously, I only found out 30 minutes before this podcast that we get to reveal Reliquarian. So maybe we do that now.
sure.
Yeah. So I have 4 slides here with I'm going to full screen that to make it easier for people to read, so they won't see us with this. I don't know if you guys can bring up what I'm showing, but I'll be showing like the first image of Reliquarian now.
Yeah. We can sort of see it. It's
a bit
just
hard to read.
very hard to read from.
It's a little hard for me.
He's known since Friday. I'll bet he hasn't. I'll bet Vero's known since Friday. And he's just learned just now. Okay, hold on. I gotta bring this into full screen. No, I don't. Let's just play it. We'll have a good look at that. I'm sure they've already got screenshots somewhere.
For me to read I wonder if I can bring it up somewhere else. Double checking that Twitch chat can see this. Hoping they.
Okay.
You see it good. So we have for the first node, Baruso's Ambition, Kiloava's Bluster, Maw of Conquest, Victoria's Influence, and Brass Dome.
So, Brass Dome could be cool, but I think armor from equipped body armor is a bullion stat. I don't think that will stack with an actual Brass Dome. Like, I think if you wear a Brass Dome, you're not going to get double. Brass Dome does not have that line? Wait, really? Oh, here's the thing. Hang on. Brass Dome. Oh shit, it doesn't. It's just got a fuckload of increased armor. Yo, okay, that's actually quite a bit. And the max will stack because that's not a bullion. So you get 5 there and 3 there. You get no crit, you get the double. That's cool. I don't know if I'll use it, but that's cool. More of Conquest is the more interesting one for me there. 40% of damage recouped as life unaffected by poison is that's still pretty pog. 40% recoup is quite a lot.
This is the first time seeing these as well. Andrew set these up.
Same for me.
Well, these ones I looked at last week, but the ones before that I probably haven't looked at in months, so they'll be new to me again as well.
Rest out.
Baruso's just giving 20% move speed is pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good starter.
An interesting thing about
20%
an
movement
interesting
speed.
thing about Reliquarian Ascendancy is
Yeah.
it has the same. You could call it a problem, but it's like the same asymmetry that Ascendant has, where you're not really getting much for your normal Labyrinth. You're getting 2 passive skill points. That's all. But I tried to have the armor ones be a little bit more powerful, I think, so that once you get to your Crawl Lab, you kind of get a little bit of a power spike. I mean, Varuso's, yeah, that looks juicy for leveling.
Yeah, Brass Dome too looks really nice. Nice. Very cool. Let's see, I'm gonna open slide number 2 because we have all 4 of them.
Wow, that's a lot of movement speed so far. Another
More
10%.
movement speed. Terminus Est and gain a frenzy charge on critical strike. 70, and Widow Hail is 75%. That was teased at 100, I think,
Yeah.
right?
No +1 arrows, sorry.
Yeah. Chaos Feast. Destroyed, cool.
I'm so
Hold on. I was just trying to see what this fucking thing does. Oh, it's that one. Oh, so with both of them, you could have an 80% chance for elemental resistances to count as 90%. No, right? Yeah, that's not a Boolean stat. That's... The Boolean stats are things that are like...
In the beginning.
You have, or this
In the-
doubles, or...
In the beginning.
Things like that.
In the beginning.
When it says plus 40% or whatever. Oh, Gambler has 57 90. Yeah. So these, when it's like 40% chance for, you get 2 of them, it's 80% chance. This one. So that they should stack. So that is actually quite strong. Okay, what's on this next one? Melee strike skills deal splash damage. Recover life on hill. Whatever. Bonus Widow Hail 75%, whatever. 10% movement speed, frenzy charge on crit, that's pretty good. Thirst for blood skill, I don't even know what that is. The Bell Timber Blade is cool too. +2 to maximum number of sacred wisps, +2 to maximum number of sacred wisps summoned. Yo! Wait! Huh? Grace of the Goddess is fucking great.
so excited for being able to change Reliquary in every single league going forward. It's great.
That is very cool.
Yeah, makes me very nervous as well because all the other ascendancies in the game have had years and years of iteration, and then this one we're basically saying, oh, we'll throw it in the bin every league and we'll see where it lands.
No
Beltimber
fine
looks
tuning, just
great.
regular tuning every league.
That's very cool. Okay, let's show the third one. This.
Gross. Minions base attack critical strike chance is equal to the critical strike chance of your main hand weapon. Okay. Great. Sure. 60% chance to impale on spell hit. It's okay. Spells fire 2 additional projectiles. Spells fire 2 additional projectiles. Cannot continue after colliding with targets. Interesting. What? Spells deal added chaos damage equal to 5% of your maximum life. Okay. Sure. Sure. Yep, there's gonna be some life stacking shit going on. Gain 20 life per enemy hit with spells is also... That's cool, but like... 5% is not enough to be worth it. Right, but that's not the only place you would get that, right? Like you life stack on multiple axes at once. Blah blah blah. Okay, don't care about this impale. Sibyl's Paws, okay. +3 to maximum summon totems. You cannot have more than 2 totems of the same type. Ew. Ew.
The top one. Spells fire 2 additional projectiles. Cannot continue after colliding. Hail on spell hit. 2 tea gloves. Ata's teaching is very cool. +3 totems. Hello. Oh. Oh, interesting. Really interesting. Wow. I think Tatantiel is
another
already
thing.
cooking.
Like, we can take uniques that, you know, maybe people don't really use too much in the end game because they don't come with other stats they want, or they're on a base they don't really want to use, and we can just throw their cool signature stat here, and now suddenly that's much more accessible.
Yeah, one of the original concerns with rolling Reliquary or Scavenger into core was that it would sort of take away from the unique if you could get that special unique effect on the Ascendancy.
Yeah.
But by having it that it rotates every league, I think we avoid that problem, which was part of the reason why we want to try the rotation.
Oh, that's very cool. See, the last one, the one with the belt and everything. Garden of Truth.
I don't think Mage Blood's there.
No Mage Blood.
It's not
no
this
Mage Blood,
patch.
sorry.
Not this patch.
Not this patch.
Maybe next patch.
Okay.
Year of Purity. Wow.
I had to get that one nerfed, and apparently that's like bonkers and ruthless.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, it fucking would be. Armor from equipped shield is doubled. 10% chance to block attack damage. Gain no armor from equipped body armor. Okay. Debuffs on you expire 100% fast is fucking great. Wait. Wasn't there a... Show me the other one. Yeah. Yeah, those madness boots. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Never spells cast at the target location instead of you. Spells have 20% increased area of effect? Yeah, I thought so. There's less area of effect on the ring. It's increased area of effect on the Ascendancy. I love that. Oh, Burden of Truth though. Your Burden of Truth is also kind of cracked. Nova spells cast at the targeted location instead of around you. That's good.
I believe it. Wow.
The warp timepiece one is the one that seems most dangerous to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a spooky stat.
Yeah, it is.
Armor from body armor.
Yeah, it's very good with those. Oh, I can't remember the name. The Delirium boots.
Yeah, that's
Beacon
what
of
we
Madness,
just said.
Oh, true. Tremendous. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for letting us share that. That was very neat. Well, I'm so excited for the fact that it's like a rotating ascendancy. I do love that. It'll be something a little bit fresh, like every league.
I mean, on sort of a broader level, I think one of Path of Exile's biggest strengths is how many modular systems we have that we can iterate on every expansion. You know, like we have Bloodlines, we have Transfigured Gems, we have, you know, now Reliquarian changes every single time. We have tons and tons of systems like that, so that we, you know, we have the new content we add, and then we can also just iterate on all these systems a little bit, and that helps have more new exciting stuff for all the different kinds of players who might be coming back.
Right. Yeah. No, I even have another question about that later. Okay, so some more generic topics. League rewards are moving more to leagues. And I mentioned this at start, but we have things like fossils, clusters, abyss jewels are mostly removed from non-league content, right? It's like fossils are only found in Delve. Are resonators and fossils, are the drop rate buffed to compensate on that? Because, for example, Legion was a big source of fossils for a lot of us.
Ooh.
Have we? Yeah. So at the moment, we're just stripping fossils from everywhere. We weren't really compensating any of the rewards. We were just like, fossils should be exclusive to Delve. So I guess what happens when you do strip out fossils from Legion is all the other rewards can become more common as a result. So whether or not those other rewards are more valuable than fossils, it's like, yeah, not sure.
Right, I'm just concerned about 20 to 40 kills per dense fossil.
Well, the primary goal was to make some of these mechanics that have had their rewards diluted be more valuable. Like, you know, a common complaint that I've had and that I've seen a lot of people in the community have is that delving doesn't really feel worth the time. Unless you're at like
Steam's gonna be
giga depths, and even
fucking
then
so
I've seen
rich.
people say it doesn't feel worth the time. So if a pristine fossil is worth 8C each, isn't that going to help address that?
Yeah, it will a little bit, but it does also.
That said, I'm being kind of tongue-in-cheek. Like, I can see the other side of this, where particularly people playing in solo self-found might find it a little frustrating to farm up enough fossils to do their crafts. So, like, I am also fine with taking an eye towards Delve and potentially, you know, buffing some of the rooms that, you know, taking some of the rooms nobody will ever bother with and replacing them with better ones, buffing some of the rooms. I just don't know how much of that we have time for in the next 3 days.
Right. I guess the primary concern is Delve's power compared to essences and other things, right? Like if the and recombinators and still the Genesis tree, even though we can't make weapons, if it's like super far behind and it's not worth for a player at all to delve at, like, say 150 to 300, which is what most like average players aren't really getting past 300. That is a concern.
I'd be surprised if Delve isn't significantly more valuable to do in 328 though.
Yeah, I also wouldn't be against increasing the number of fossils you get from Delve at the same time.
Like that is something that we can do relatively quickly. So we'll probably discuss that directly after this.
Nice. Glad I brought it up. What about so everything like fossil incubators and delirium orbs are gone, right?
I'm not actually sure about that one. I'll need to check after this, to be honest.
And then
in your initial question, you said cluster and abyss jewels. I mean, that is something maybe we'd eventually want to do, but they haven't gotten as extensive a treatment in this regard as fossils.
Yeah, I think we only removed it from King's March mapping and Tujin, and the primary reason for that is... No, they haven't actually been removed at all. I think they were removed from Tujin, but from King's March mapping, I think we level capped them at 83. Because we want item level 84 abyss jewels to sorry, not abyss jewels, delirium cluster jewels to only be coming from the appropriate delirium content. Feels very cheap to be getting like an insanely valuable jewel from like a King's March shipping or mapping window.
And this is something that I feel really strongly on, that it's incredibly important to the health of the game's economy to have special rewards from certain mechanics be sequestered to those mechanics where possible. That is at odds with making new things feel rewarding and cool, right? So like you have to balance that, and it's really easy to just take stuff people already want, put it in the new thing, there you go. But that's a bit of a cop-out, and it's a hard thing to do, but it should be the case that every mechanic that is added has some distinct and new and cool thing that it can be specialized at. So that... Like, the reason this is important is because of what we saw in something like Affliction League, for instance, where you had maps that were printing oodles and oodles and oodles of loot. But fossils were still worth something in Affliction League because you couldn't use the broken overpowered strat to print them. So the more little corners of the game you have like that, where they have something that they specialize in that you can't get from another source, or at least you can't easily get from another source, because technically at that time you could get fossils elsewhere, just not in as much bulk. The more safe the economy is against, mistakes on our part. It's like if you had an ecology where, all you grew and ate was rice and absolutely nothing else, and then suddenly there's a horrible disease that wipes out all the rice. Now everybody dies. But if you have multiple kinds of crops, you're more resistant to that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really good to hear, in my opinion. Even as somebody who does prefer SSF, I do prefer when things are not homogenized, so that's really good. That that makes me want to ask about Sanctum, because Sanctum is probably the mechanic that like the least stands out. It doesn't really have its own rewards, except it does have the uniques at the end.
Yep.
But Sanctum's main place in the game right now is a currency farm. It's been targeted a lot. Is that something you guys are discussing, like giving Sanctum its own things that is a little bit more special?
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to sound like I'm deflecting the question, but I am going to pop out for 2 minutes and I'll be back.
He's running, guys. I asked about Sanctum and he ran. That's all good.
I will handle that one. Sanctum, I agree with you.
He's fixing Sanctum right now.
I was in QA at the time when Sanctum was being developed. And this was actually a concern that I raised then. I don't like how one-dimensional the reward structure of Sanctum is. Partially for this reason, which, as I said, I've always felt strongly about. Like, you need to have sequestered corners of the economy that do different things. But also, it becomes incredibly easy to judge the reward output of Sanctum, right?
Yeah.
Like, on the player side, you can get an incredibly clear picture of Sanctum creates this much currency per hour on average, and then that makes it really hard to actually balance Sanctum in a way that's okay for the broader economy, because you have to like land it super precisely on the exact amount of currency per hour that players will deem acceptable in order to run the content.
Yeah.
Whereas with other things that have more that have a reward that might be more valuable one league and less valuable in other league, and might be more valuable to some players and less valuable to other players, you have a little more leeway there. You have a little more obscurity.
I might have made a mistake.
So does that mean that you want to give it its own unique thing that is new? Because that we haven't seen that before, right? We haven't really seen like an old mechanic. We had the breach rework, but we haven't seen like an old mechanic like suddenly get something new that is very special. That usually does come during its actual league.
I can't really unilaterally say that we're going to make that change.
Sure.
Like, all I can speak to is what I would prefer.
Of course.
And like, yes, if I had infinite time and I could just, say we're doing this, we're doing that, then I would definitely rework Sanctum to have something cooler and more unique and special that it gives as a reward, while also still trying to aim to make it more competitive as a mechanic. Like, I don't really like the place that Sanctum sits in right now, where a lot of people view it as like not really worth running. Or if we were to buff the rewards a bunch, everybody starts viewing it as like this is the only viable strategy early on.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying with the whole, when it rewards just raw pure currency and nothing else, it kind of sits on that nice edge. Like, it's either it's perceived as this busted OP thing that you have to do, or it's not worth doing at all, don't bother. Like, it's very hard to land on the middle there.
It was really interesting during the past few leagues because so many people were in the camp of it's not worth doing at all, don't bother, which meant that it actually was super worth doing because the tomes were free, right? They were just 1C or maybe even like 0.5C. So it did balance itself out a little bit that way. I'm a huge Sanctum enjoyer, so
there is
was
a
actually
floor.
like, quite
absolutely.
good.
It'll be self-correcting to some degree with the economy, but regardless.
Cool. Speaking of the economy, we have instant trading, currency auction house. I have some questions about that. First, there were a lot of concerns about Faustus being added to the core game and instant buyout and stuff. Are you guys happy pretty much with how that went? They obviously has a lot of connotations with player power.
I mean, I can't speak to like, how the game directors might feel or the company at large, but I personally am happy it's in the game. A more grounded answer. I certainly have seen an impact in the rate at which I can acquire, good, decent, even great rares in a trade league when I do play trade league.
Yeah.
But like, I would say it's worth the trade-off personally. Like, it's just so nice to interact with trade in general now. Like, it just seems worth it to me. Yes.
We're talking about Faustus. Welcome back.
At least slap buffs, maybe larger ones.
While talking about Faustus, currently he has a limit of 10. Is that something that'll ever get changed? Made a larger limit? It's maybe a little low for a lot of people?
There was an issue to change that. It didn't quite make it into 328.
Okay, so that's coming. Cool. Especially white maps being tradable in the currency exchange, or is that going to be a merchant tab thing only?
I don't think they're allowed to be.
Yeah.
It might be a technical limitation because you're only allowed to trade homogeneous items on the currency exchange, and
have a unique ID.
Even a white map does not count as a homogeneous item.
Yeah. Sense. Can we get the ability to price an entire merchant tab similar to the way we can do with a premium tab?
Please.
I think I specifically requested this because I'm basically I play Trade League and I do the same thing every single league start where I'll get to around level 90 or so and then I'll just farm ROG for like a few 3 or 4 days. I'm sort of crazy in that I think I'm one of these rare players who actually enjoys trading with other people. But async trade did make ROG like way better, and that was my biggest frustration of like the jank of having to like I'll have like 10 tabs with like 10 chaos, 20 chaos, 30 chaos, and I'm like, okay, none of my 30 chaos is selling. I want to make it 20 chaos, and I couldn't do that easily. So yeah,
Awesome.
I will push for it at some point.
That's
Good.
really good. With the UI. Oh, carry on.
Just one of the reasons why some of this QOL stuff has been a little, I mean, slow's the wrong word, but you know,
No, it's
has
the
been
right
taking
word.
a few leagues is because while we have incredibly talented UI programmers, we just don't have enough of them. So if you are a talented UI programmer in New Zealand, please apply.
Nice.
Grinding Gear Games, thank you.
Good ad. Next
Fair.
topic is UI. It's a very big personal thing for me. For around 20 minutes, we had an energy shield overlay next to our health bar in the middle of the screen that would separate the energy shield UI and make it above
Loved that.
life so that we had a blue bar. It's really annoying, especially for builds like Zibakwa, where there's a bypass energy shield thing, and it just overlays your life bar and just makes it hard to see. Can we have that back? I know there were bugs with it, but we had it for 20 minutes, and they were like, you guys said, oh, we're removing it. We need to fix it. That was 4 years ago.
Sorry, I cannot recall this at all, but I'm certain I can find someone at the company who's familiar with this and I can bring it up.
Awesome. Please give me that back. I really want it. It would mean a lot. And speaking of UI stuff, Mercenary UI for Animate Guardian.
Please.
I think the programmers would probably shoot me if I suggested that. It's certainly one of these things where I just don't think it's gonna ever be worth the technical effort to get in the game
No.
for what Animate Guardian just does as like a single solo skill.
Oh,
I'm not gonna
love
say
Animate.
no for sure, but I just think we did bring it up at some point. I can't remember the exact reasons why, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I get shot by the programmers.
Okay, that's fair. I hope it can be added. Another thing as well, like the UI can be a little bit cluttered right now with boss bars, like covering our buffs and stuff. Is there gonna be any like
Yep.
positioning change, tidy up, clean up, anything like that?
I've seen some or heard some discussion and seen some issues floating around regarding that, specifically like on the PoE2 issue tracker, and that is the same implementation across both games there for the boss bar. So I can't really promise when or what form that will take, but it is on people's radar. That is something that would be more, you know, Jonathan and Mark's decisions as it does impact both games.
Yeah, I'm just trying to plant as many seeds as possible for things that aren't being done,
Sure.
and I'm guessing they also watch some of this. So
Yeah, we're probably the wrong people to ask about UI type of things.
yeah, right. Well, you're gonna hate the next two questions, but then it gets great again.
Go for it.
In the past, there has been talk about importing pre-planned trees to PoE, just in case you know the status of that. Like a trace
Not
route.
specifically the status, but there is someone who has been working on it.
Cool.
I can tell you that much.
Awesome. That's
I
great to hear.
mean,
Muting our own specters, other player sounds. I know we got a minion you can buy to kill other people's minions. But even muting our
You
own
steal them.
specters.
Oh, actually, there is one to kill them too, isn't there?
There is, yeah, I have it. It was mandatory for Trade League. Yeah.
wait, you can kill
Maybe-
other people's specters? Wait.
I think we added some tech a while back that allows you to mute certain effects in your hideout. Usually those effects were
Oh,
related to
right,
like automated
right,
war
right,
cries.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine then.
But the thing is, the way that was set up was it was on a per effect basis, and if we were to do that with specters, well, then does that mean we need to go through every single spectral monster in the game and pull out all of their effects? There'll be a much
We need a more dynamic solution.
dynamic solution for that, for sure.
As somebody that enjoyed Forge
but-
Frostbearers last patch, did not enjoy my hideout last patch.
Yeah. I think I remember when I played Slave Driver Spectres once, and those things
Yeah.
were the most erratic people
Yeah.
ever in my hideout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's a legit concern. Since we have the baseline tech to mute things selectively in your hideout, it seems like a good place to utilize it. So I'll put it on the list for QOL stuff to look into for 329.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. So next question are about bosses. Obviously the game's been going for a while now, and some bosses were added a long time. Is there any talk of like updating older bosses? Like for example, the Shaper still has 3 faces that we're sort of one-shotting. Not necessarily cutting out phases, either buffing the, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of a refresher on older bosses. Elder, very, very outdated by now.
Very easy.
Well, one of the more honest answers here is that those very old bosses are set up in a much more hacky way than the newer bosses are.
Yeah.
They aren't using like our new designer-friendly scripting language. So whenever someone tries to go in and change things, it's a little bit of a minefield, which is
Right.
probably just shows our reticence to, like, if we were to fix those fights, then we'd probably just want to rework them entirely using our scripting language and change all of their skills.
I mean,
Whether or
I'm
not
fine with
will
that.
happen, or
Yeah.
maybe at some point would phase out the Shaper and Elder instead. That might be the better solution, honestly.
I think what you'd want to do is hybridize changing those bosses and changing older content with introducing new stuff, because that's probably the most efficient use of the design and development resources. Is like, whatever storyline beats we go to next could potentially include also there's some change that has occurred that means that we can justify going back and to a degree retconning and to a degree reviewing some of these older bosses that don't hold up to modern standards.
Sense. On the off chance
Nice
that it's
trigger
an
one,
easy
right?
fix, would it be easy to, that when the Elder spawns for Elder Guardian and does like the feels like 4 or 5 second portals, that easy to make like half a second?
Oh, I wish that was an easy fix.
Oh.
The thing is, I thought that one of our senior monster designers sped it up a few leagues ago, or am I imagining that?
I think so.
Yeah,
It's not that fast.
I think I know who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
I have discussed.
I can't remember if that went live or not, but he was looking into seeing if there was some simple change he could make to speed up those portals, and that was the best he could come up with, given only a designer's time and not getting a programmer to go and look at the real technical aspect of it.
I do think it did get sped up a little bit, but it's still quite slow. One of the really big announcements for Mirage was like ground loot is starting to be touched now. You're doubling the currency, but could you go into what doubling currency means a little bit? For example, does it affect scarabs? Is that a currency?
It does not affect scarabs. So the things that it will affect are all the core drop pool currency, but I guess from a player's point of view, that might not be immediately clear. So it's all your standard currency items, including quality currency. It will also include a couple of, well, okay, actually, so the doubling loot currency, I don't know if I should be giving away all the secret weightings. Well, to be fair, these aren't
Feel
the
free.
weightings, but there were certain currencies we
Don't
did
let
not
us
want to
stop you.
double the rate of from ground loot. For
Okay.
example, Mirrors of Calandra have not been doubled. They are actually
That's
slightly
fair.
more common than before, but they have not got the same buff to ground loot that all the other currencies did.
That's fair.
Just because we want mirrors to remain just as special as they are now.
Yeah, that's
They're
fair.
very special. Only found 4.
There are a couple. Voidborn keys are not more common. Voldos puzzle boxes are not more common. Is there any other specific items you'd want to ask about there?
Iniquara's Lock?
Not more common.
Oh, interesting. That is a choice.
We were treating that at the same specialness as a Mirror of Calandra.
Well, I mean, okay, so the obvious ones are also, there's a lot of concern with all the Harbinger currencies now, because, like, like Annulls and Ancient Orbs and stuff, are they way more farmable now, or, like...
Well, arguably they were more farmable before, because if you wanted an Alman Orbs, you'd go and do Harbinger, right?
Yes.
But Annulment Orbs are more common in... So, aside from everything getting doubled, we did actually look at a bunch of the specific currencies and change their weightings relative to each other. So annulment
that's a
orbs are
choice.
actually much more common from
About
core drops
fracturing
than
orbs.
they were before, relative to the other currencies. Same as exalted orbs and regal orbs were the other two notable ones that are now much more common than before.
Cool. I
Fracturing
like
orbs?
that.
Fracturing orbs have been added to the core drop pool, but I'm not going to state how common or how rare they are
Alright. Okay.
relative to other
Okay.
currencies.
Nice. One thing that was brushed up on a little bit in the Q&A was tiered loot. Can you talk a little bit why quantity is an issue with tiered loot? And I have a potential solution idea to spitball.
Can you expand on the question a little bit?
So,
I'm not.
for example, when it comes to tiered loot from PoE 2, right, where they identified a better tier, I'm a huge fan of the idea of that, because I would like to see less. Even in PoE 2, I haven't necessarily identified a really good tier 5 loot, but I do think this system is really cool. Big fan of it. But there was a mention in the Ziggy Q&A that the quantity and player bonus would be an issue with introducing tiered loot in PoE 1. Like quant bonus.
I'm not 100% sure what that was referring to, but quantity will give you more memory strand items. We did significantly buff memory strand items.
Yeah.
So memory strand items are effectively our version of tiered loot from PoE 2. So the more quant you have, the more of those items you will get.
Does anyone actually know what he wants to know here? I don't really understand. Like, I know what I want. I know the thing he's complaining about, but like, I don't really understand the question.
So I'm not 100% sure what the quantity issue is here.
I guess
Well-
the main difference is that the memory strand items don't kick in until you're in the end game, whereas the tiered loot starts in like the latter half of the story in PoE 2. So it's feels a bit more core, I guess, but they are pretty similar.
That too, but I don't know if this could be like very, very at odds with what the community feels, but I feel like there's a very big difference with that and identifying, like, it feels more like crafting to me. It doesn't feel like finding an item.
Sure.
I guess I wish I was finding a little bit more rare items. Like, it does feel with the memory strands item, I feel a little bit more like I have to have a strategy. I have to think a little bit about how to craft them and how to best utilize those memory strands, as opposed to something like, I don't want to call it smart loot, but like the smart loot from Heist, right? Where, wow, that is a really good
Okay.
item.
But isn't that essentially just, I don't mean to be combative or anything, but isn't that
No.
essentially just memory strands, except they go away when you craft on them?
Not
Because when you
really.
identify an item with memory strands, the memory strands are affecting the identified mods, I believe.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
if that's true, and I'm sure it is because Octavian said it, but if that's true, this is not affecting them by any margin that's noticeable to a player. Because like, I notice shit like that a lot earlier than most people, and my memory strand items don't feel any better than regular items. It feels like I've picked up an item that I now have the chance to craft. It does not feel like I picked up an item that is better off the floor. So if that is true, which since Octavian said it, I'm sure it is not by enough. Yeah. Yeah. If there is, it's not by enough. It doesn't... It sounds like they have tried to fill that particular gap with memory strand items and just failed at it, right? Not that that's like a bad thing. I mean, you've got to try something, but like, right? Like it feels like that's been, well, okay, if that's supposed to be the solution, then try again. because it doesn't feel like that to the player.
I guess for me, they haven't felt as special or as like identifying an item.
Yeah, and
Sure.
I think the reason for that is just because we've got so many other sources of like better rares spread throughout the game. So, for example, from King's March and from the Breach Tree and from Heist and from ROG and that type of thing. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, picking up rares on the ground is a very tricky topic to address, and I do even wonder if players do want to be picking up rares off the ground to find the best items. Theoretically, I would love it
They
that
don't.
you could drop the
They just
best
think
item
they
in the
don't.
game from the ground. Which is why I sort of have other separate issues with systems like synthesis, implicits, and exclusive mods, but completely different topic.
Yeah, it is a tricky one. Like, I don't want to be like identifying and picking up every rare item for sure, but I do, at least in my head, obviously it's hard to know if that's the case, but I do love the idea of like, let's say a tier 5 amulet being something that's actually quite rare, like something you don't drop every day, and you're excited to identify it because it has a very big chance to be good. I do like that idea in my head.
Another one of the issues, which is I think more noticeable in PoE 1, is if you look at an amulet in PoE 2 and you get a tier 5 amulet, basically every single one of the mods that can roll on the amulet, in my opinion, can be a very good and generically good mod. There is a lot more filler mods on amulets in PoE 1 compared to PoE 2, which means that even if all the mods roll at their highest tiers, it just doesn't necessarily mean that it's like a very good amulet, because it could be rolling with some filler mods or some incompatible mods, which I think, because the PoE 2 mod system is much more streamlined, I feel like on average, if you found a tiered loot in PoE 1 and PoE 2, the PoE 2 one is probably going to feel better.
It will.
I agree.
There is a lot of filler, for sure. No, it's a tricky one. Have you guys talked about like drop-only mods? Similar, like we did have that in Incursion. I'm a big fan of drop-only mods. Thoughts on that?
I mean, I've specifically brought it up because it's something that I like in other games and also liked in Incursion, but like it has been discussed. It's been a part of the topic of discussion. It's certainly not something that I can say we'll commit to.
Yeah. Oh. Quick thing I remembered. Any chance of getting something like shift click or control click to use wisdom scrolls in your inventory? Like when you're mid map, sometimes you'll find like Keepers of the Trove, you'll still have 20 rings in your inventory, but you don't necessarily want to go back to your hideout. Very small feature that we also see in things like Project Diablo 2 that I'm a huge fan of.
I reckon this is one that we'd have to elevate to Mark and Jonathan as being like, is it removing too much item weight?
Like, as
Don't
in,
fucking say
as in
item
you
weight at me.
As
use
in-
the wisdom scroll from your inventory.
Yeah,
to
it
an
still
item on
uses the
ground.
wisdom scroll. I just don't have to click the wisdom scroll, hold shift. It feels really nice. It's surprisingly good.
Hmm.
We're still
You're not
using
allowed
wisdom
to-
scrolls.
You're not allowed to swear on these sort of things.
I just need time.
Like, don't say item weight to me. That's very inappropriate. Says the guy who spent 10 minutes yesterday explaining how he was happy to be able to see his balls again. Anyway, let's back to the podcast.
Yeah, but like I said, I feel like that would definitely be a Mark or Jonathan question.
Yeah. Juicing, always a hot topic.
Sure.
What's the main problem you feel Astrolabs solve? And also,
Yes.
is for the people that do really like juicing, you
good.
feel like Astrolabes will still allow you to sort of
My
like
sister just walked in. Hi, did you hear that?
No.
Oh, good. That's fine. You don't wanna. You don't wanna. That's fine.
I had a car accident.
Oh, fun. Hold on a second. Mac. Let's start playing again.
I don't necessarily do this a lot myself, but will you still be able to, like, pre-roll 100 maps, grab 100 scarabs, and with astrolabes achieve that similar flow state to before?
I think, yeah, you should be able to. So basically the way that the shaped regions work is when you complete one of the maps, then it will add modifiers to the other maps. Now, you wouldn't really want to be like having to care too much about what those additional modifiers are.
Yeah.
Because that might say what you mean, where it's like, oh, I rolled this map, but actually now I need to change my Atlas tree and my scarabs.
Yeah.
So all of the mods should be related to the current mechanic, but there might be some generic ones added on top. I think we might have showed one, I can't remember, in the live stream, which I might have removed since, like adding essences or something to like a harvest astrolabe. I wouldn't really want that type of thing, for example.
Whatever, fuck that breach.
So if you've got like a harvest astrolabe, then all of the mods will either be generic stuff like pack size quant, or something related to the harvest mechanic, juicing it itself. So you shouldn't necessarily need to be changing what harvest scarabs you're using.
Cool. And do you think there'll be a need to like hover over the maps before and see which one you're starting with?
I'd need to play around with that and find out from like how I would behave as a player. If like this one's got a good mod, so I need to save it till last. So should I run these ones first? Yeah, there might be a little bit of that.
Yeah. Well.
Although if you're using the keystone, then you don't need to bother with that at all.
Yeah, I do like that you guys added that. Pretty cool. Next up, King's March. Very, very hot topic. Especially because it feels very mandatory. How do you guys feel about King's March, and do you think the current change with moving it to the ore addresses that issue? Or you still can like I would personally say it feels a bit mandatory.
I would want to see how all of the changes we made this league have played out. It's more of like a first step in the direction of evaluating, like, we'll see if these changes help address the King's March problem, and if that's still a problem, we'll just keep making more changes.
Yeah. Mercenaries is another one that is potentially coming back. And Mercenaries is also something that I would be also worried about would be feeling very mandatory. Have you ever discussed rotating league mechanics?
Ooh.
It's one of those situations, like I said earlier in the podcast, where like I don't, on a fundamental, like, subjective level, I don't really feel like that's good, but I can't put my finger on exactly why. I probably would have to think about it more. Mercenaries is a difficult one, though. I mean, that's the main reason it hasn't come back, right? Because, like, functionally, we could probably just slap it in with a couple of weeks of, a week or two of a programmer's time to try and solve all the problems with sending it core and all the database-related stuff and all that. But, like, there are design questions there that are very difficult to answer. And it'll come back when we have good answers to those.
Yeah. I mean, Mercenaries is definitely, for me, something where I love the league, but I was like, please don't go core, because it would feel very mandatory. I do see this.
I was there as well. I loved the Mercenary. I did. It was very, very cool. I very much enjoyed that league. But I don't want that to go core. I actually don't want it to come back. I don't see how it comes back. It'll create problems. That'll create more problems that it solves, and I don't know how to solve those problems. It was good. It was fun. I loved it. I don't want them permanently.
Cool. All right. I'm sort of at the those were the main topics we had, and then I have some rapid fire Q&A. Can Reliquary use Forbidden Flame and Flesh at all from like normal Scion?
Reliquarian can use the Ascendant's Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh jewels, but she does not have her own, and the reason we didn't add her own is because the whole we're rotating the uniques every league thing.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Ascendants are allowed to be, Scion Ascendancies are allowed to be weird and different.
Are you dummies?
No plans that I'm aware of.
Come on.
I want target dummies.
That would be a Mark and Jonathan question. Sorry.
Yeah. The console players were asking if they can have crossplay, or if they can't have crossplay, if they can be part of our economy.
Also have no idea, sorry.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is. And I don't want to seem like we're dodging questions here, but this
No,
is
you're good.
something that, definitely is more
Above
like
their heads.
this would actually be more of a question for our less often seen game director, Trevor, who is the lead on all the console related stuff.
Well, I just figured I'd bring it up. There were so many console players asking about it.
Have we seen Trevor?
Scrying and the Seer, is that still a thing?
I feel like I don't know who that is.
Yeah. I think it works basically the exact same as it currently does online.
Hello.
Oh. Oh, Trevor was the phone fall guy.
Hello.
I remember that announcement. They handled that incredibly well. Just lent into it. I was just like, we're gonna be announcing this mobile game. Someone's fucking, we're just gonna have to lean into it. Which, by the way, haven't heard fucking jack squat about since. I don't know if that's been abandoned or what. What am I doing fucking wrong here? Why won't this go to the map tab? What was the hotkey to send things to tabs automatically? It's just normal control click, right? When I'm control clicking, not only are my maps not going away, but also my currency's not going where it's supposed to go. It's not following my affinities. Well, let's turn them off. And then back on again. How about now? No, it won't even let me put the currency away. Ew! Well, I would never open that. I would never turn that off. Is that... I guess I also don't play in solo self-found. Maybe it just is off in solo self-found. I don't know.
You guys ever discussed anything like color coding for map mods? Any like change to map mods? Things like that? Like remaking them? Both of those are things were asked a lot.
I mean, revamping them and adding some new ones or removing some or something like that is certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
Color coding is something that I might get some flack for saying, but I'm personally kind of against because I don't like the aesthetic direction that it takes the items in the game if you do that too much.
When you say color coding, what do you specifically want?
Remember when he could have had a rank 1 demi but he decided apples was a good idea? I think what you mean, Blakey, is do you remember when we could have had a rank 1 demi but I decided apples was a good idea? I think that's what you mean.
Color code it?
I think I don't want it myself, for the record. I know a lot of people want to be able to filter map mods for people that aren't using regex, I guess, to use. So being able to filter out, reflect, and stuff like that, and make that red. I don't necessarily care. Don't really have a problem with any map mods.
I don't know. Well, hopefully Reflector's a lot easier to deal with this patch. Due
Yeah,
to
thank you for that. I'll buy you guys some beers or food at XLCon. That was big fan of those changes.
Especially for users, right?
Thank you. Can we have multiple astrolabes in one region at the same time?
No, you can. Well, we've split the atlas into what we're calling 4 quadrants, and each of the
Real
quadrants.
quick for anybody wondering, it's one of the clips from my intro is us dying in one of the hardcore races, one of the team races, and it's to Apples. Apples is not the name of the mob. I forget the name of what the mob actually is. It is an old Beyond boss. And in its original form, it's this little fucking teapot thing that like shoots some half fizz, half chaos stuff at you. It's not that dangerous, perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. Problem is, once you kill it, it just fucking spits this like full poison shit everywhere in a big circle, and fucking murks anyone who isn't CI or hiding behind a barrel or a wall or something. And we were, I don't know, 10, 12 hours in that day as a team. And we'd already ran a few of the maps that had those Beyond bosses in it. And Blakey said, I think we should just wait 10 minutes and we shouldn't go in here. These things are too dangerous. And I was in charge of the maps. And I went, it'll be fine. And so, and spoiler, it wasn't fine. At the triple kill clip, it was actually just a double kill because Ildris was our other support and his character was CI. So he was just standing there unfazed and Blakey and I were dead. And it was 100% my fault.
When you apply an astrolabe to a quadrant, you can only have one shaped region at a time, so 4 total on your atlas, and depending on which region.
Was there salt? It was assault, right? No, I mean, no, because okay, so when I say it's my fault, it was my fault 100%. I made that decision. However, this is something all hardcore players know. No matter what has happened ever, your death is your own fault all the time. Like, yeah, we're blaming it on me because I made the bad decision, but you're responsible for your own health, even in a group situation in hardcore, all of the time. So if Blakey had a little bit more of a spine, he could have just not come in. He could have just put his foot down and said no. He said no, but he just said it once and then came in. Right? So like, yes, it was my bad decision that killed us all, but nobody like really gets upset that like you got killed because of your friend's decision, because you made the decision to follow me in there. So like, right? That's not even like a rage baiting thing or anything. That's also like, that's like how that works in, like, I don't even think he would disagree. Like, that's, if you play in hardcore, that's ultimately your deaths are all your own fault, or every one of them. Like, I definitely bear some of the blame, but like, you know, if you really felt strongly enough, then you wouldn't be in there. Like, you have to take some blame if you're in hardcore for your own death. So no, there was not any salt. I mean, there was making fun of me, and they're still making fun of me, but that's like fun, right? Not like real actual upset or salt or anything, right?
Region you put it in determines which memory vault you go to, and the memory vaults each have their own distinct set of rewards, which I'm sure eventually a meta will shape out, but yeah, try it and find out.
Nice. That sounds very exciting. Are Metacraft locations changed at all? Are still in their respective maps like Cure Blade and stuff?
Oh, also, that's not the first time I'd killed Blakey in hardcore. That's the first time I'd accidentally killed Blakey in hardcore. It's not the first time I'd killed him. Defender. Well, one of the things we used to do to each other to keep each other on our toes is try and land volatile cores or volatile explosion things on each other. He would also try and hit me with them while we were partying. It's fun. Keeps you on your toes. But the time that really stands out is when we were leveling ults together and I was like, maybe a screen and a half in front of him. And I just like activated the weapon master. I think it's Vegan, whichever one's the weapon master, which if anyone was playing back then when the old masters existed, the weapon master Vegan, let me bend your rear for a moment. During leveling, incredibly dangerous. You shouldn't be activating that guy. I said nothing. I activated him and I like flame dashed into the next room. And so he's like running after me, trying to catch up, and he just gets leaped on and fucking gunk. That death is probably what caused me to get faster than you. I never wanted to be behind you again.
Yeah.
Nice.
So although you don't need to complete all of the unique maps anymore to get your maximum Atlas completion, there are still some unique maps that you'll need to do to get those specific metacrafts.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Yeah, makes sense. So with the change to Nightmare maps tier 17s and 16.5s, is going to be more of a scarcity on item level 86? Like base types?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. There are still sources of them. Personally, as a player, I'm kind of okay with that. I think it's cool when the very tippy top of bases are scarce and valuable.
Yeah, I was
I'm cool with it.
contemplating adding +1 level as a very rare mod to shaped regions. I haven't yet, but I think I want to avoid it, to be honest.
I mean,
Because-
it definitely does add some value back to Delve, because Delve has that.
Yes.
True.
Can we log directly into the hideout like in PoE 2?
Oh, please. Please.
Mark and Jonathan question for sure on that. I'm not 100% sure why they're different in both games, but yeah.
That seems strange. I'll bring it up. Or
Awesome,
Andrew
thank
will.
you.
One of us will.
Hopefully we can revisit this list of questions afterwards.
The old memories were baked into Kirak with like the blue text special memory maps, like Kirak Harvest Beasts, etc. Are they gone?
Well, the Karak Harvest Beasts already exist in the core bestiary pool. They're
Does,
just
yeah.
extremely rare.
Yeah.
I think all of them except one are now 2 to 4 times more common. If you want to guess which one I did not make more common.
Vultures.
Dem one, now that it's been reworked?
It's the rerolling synth implicits one.
Yep.
Ah.
Vultures.
Wow. Wow, that's gonna be very
Yo,
expensive.
vultures are gonna be expensive.
Well, to be honest, we wanted to do a small rework to synthesis itemization this patch, but we might end up doing it next patch. I think synthesis items are in a little bit of a weird spot at the moment where it's like you don't even get them from synthesis maps, and
A lot of people want
then
that.
you have these crafts where you can the base type doesn't matter if you can just continuously re-roll your synth implicits forever. It's probably going to be quite controversial for very, very in-game crafters, but it's still
I
in the
love
game
it.
for now.
I love it. Yeah, no, we would love to see synth items drop from the synth maps like Cortex and stuff. That'd be very cool.
I would too.
Support gems, I realize it's probably not the perfect question for you, but it's something I want you to bring up. Support gems are still like class locked, and in a lot of cases
Oh my
don't
God, can we
necessarily
fix
make
that,
sense.
please?
Like Templar doesn't have faster attacks, but it does have a lot of like attack based things. Do they still need to be class locked early on?
No. They do not need to be class locked. I can answer that. Are we fixing it is a
someone
different
asked me
question.
that exact question 2 days ago, so now I'm wondering if they told you or you told them. So ask me it.
This is Sarge that brought it up.
This is one of the things that PoE2's uncut support system kind of solved in a much more elegant way, where like you have the benefit of the class locking is there's fewer options displayed to a new player, right? And Path of Exile is already a complex enough game that it's really difficult to get into. But you are correct that it's like, it's kind of weird and arbitrary that you just can't get faster attacks randomly on Templar early on. Like that's not really for some super significant balance reason. It's just because we don't want to throw even more options in the face of a new player. Like, so the uncut kind of allows for that, right? Where like you have, here's the menu that gets shown immediately, and then you can click down here if you want literally everything.
Actually, I want to sort of run a hypothetical by you, because this sort of relates to our conversation earlier of shaking up the leveling meta. What if you started a Templar and you couldn't get like 30 options by the end of Act 1 for what main skill you can use, and you only got like 5 instead?
That sounds horrible.
I think it's fine.
Yeah,
basically what we'd be saying then is we're prescribing you exactly what skill you're allowed to level with.
No, I think that sounds awful. I think I would literally be lynched by the community if I said it like that. It's also, I feel like you're already sort of bypassing the whole like overwhelming thing by what support gems you're offering.
The reason I say that's fine is because I don't fucking care. I'll just get other people to give me the gems that we want. We're just gonna get around it. It's pointless. Don't do it. Like, our job is gonna be get around it. And if you don't have any friends that you play with, or if you're in solo self-found, I guess you just fucking suffer. But
offering the players for free, because like when I'm coaching or helping a new player, that's mostly what they're looking at, right? They're looking at the offered gems, and in the actual sales window, we're talking about the difference between like 90 or 100 support gems anyway. You're searching for that, and it can often be more convoluted for new players because it's maybe in the guide, but like, yeah, they don't know why they don't have access to it.
Ruling members. Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, I think it comes with the territory of the earlier conversation around like, you know, stale leveling meta and stale leveling skills and that sort of thing. And that is something that we want to try and look into and address in 329. So this is probably worth having in that scope document to discuss. So we'll get it in there.
No, for sure. I think it's a good thing to talk about. I definitely don't think like support gems are what's gating that, but yeah, I would love to see that.
Well, it almost makes me wonder if we should have the Lily vendor just be
like in every town?
Yes.
Yep.
Or something?
Yes.
Yep, basically. But support's only, or should it be for skills too then?
I don't know.
It is.
Wait, before they go on, this is the thing that I've been asking for forever. Exactly. I'll tell you the exact thing I've been asking for forever. Make it account based, just like the Scion is, where it's exactly like it is right now, the first time your account ever plays. And once you've once in your entire life killed Kataba 10, that Lily Roth vendor will just be in every town at every place. It will still unlock supports and active skills in line with the quest that would give it to anyone. Right? So like, you're not getting them early. You still have to get to the same progression point, but all the gems become available at that progression point, not just the ones locked to your class, and they're just on the Lily Roth vendor, but it is only for people who have already killed Kataba 10 one time. Just one time ever, not per league. Just like Scion, you have to unlock it once ever. Right? So you get the benefit of not overwhelming the new player. You get to do that thing exactly how you want, where you're still sort of like pushing them in a direction that's synergistic with the base class and is not super overwhelming, but then you let the rest of us grab anything we want, because half of the beauty of this game is, oh, I want to make a witch and I want to carry a two-handed sword and I want to fucking smack people in the face with it, and you just can. But there's no reason to stop me from doing that while I'm leveling.
is more important on support gems than it is on active skills, but I do think it's a big W for the game if it is on both. I think most of what's like changing the meta and stuff is the region that they're in on the tree and the ascendancies anyway, right? Not so much what gems you have access to. If I have access to Duelist gets Fireball, I'm not going to suddenly start playing a Fireball build for most things.
Yeah.
Cool. Also, looking at the corner of my eye out of the chat interaction, everyone is saying yes, please. Yeah. People want confirmation that double Falborn uniques still exist with the Genesis tree adjustments.
Yeah, they still exist. The unique side of the Genesis tree hasn't gotten a huge amount of adjustments. The majority of the adjustments / nerfs to the equipment tree.
Nice.
The ring sure doesn't.
Was there
yeah.
ever any talk of making Falborn uniques droppable from Breach content as a natural drop?
They already come out of the
They
boxes.
do sort of drop, as in they all drop from the chests that you find in the high fortresses
But
and the
not from
Breach Hive
kills.
boss encounter. And I think the Breach bosses.
Side note, again, my idea to fix that encounter, I've gone through this before, but I think that encounter is actually really good. I know a lot of people complain about it, but I think it's like this far away from being really good. And I think it's this easy. When you go in, you should spawn in near the thing so you don't have to escape with the map unlocked. You should do the event and have to do the escape run. And then when you land outside, not just the loot that we're getting now, but also all of the boxes that would have been in there should just drop at the end, which is the same amount of loot. I'm not even asking for more stuff. I'm just asking to not have to run in at the beginning and go hunting for all of the boxes. I just want to start in the middle, do the event, do my escape, and then just get it all at the end.
Also have a decently high chance to drop them as well.
But
But
what
they
about
don't drop
killing
from,
normal
like,
monsters?
in world. Wait,
Why
say
even
that
have the
again,
boxes
sorry?
in there?
What
But you
about
don't
from
need
like
the
killing
boxes.
normal?
You
Like
don't
say
need
you're
the
doing an
boxes in there.
unstable breach and you're killing the 3 rares or a bunch.
You do not need the boxes in there. But the loot that would have been in the amount of boxes that are there, including the Foulborn uniques that would have dropped from those boxes, should just drop at the end. Right?
To the normal monsters.
You know, as soon as you leave,
Not
yes.
currently, but I guess you could, maybe it makes sense to add it as like a small chance to drop from Veron. So
Right.
when you do the wild boss in the map.
Could be something that we iterate on with the Atlas passive tree as well. But yeah, not currently in 328.
Could you bring us the Path of Exile 2 gambling box to PoE1? To sneak that in?
Yo, yes, please.
The Venters one that's like all the little cogs that spin and stuff.
love it.
Yeah,
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 that
it's
would be
great.
cool.
Yeah, we actually had some discussions
Yes, please.
maybe like
actually.
a month or so ago because we were a little bit concerned with the changes we're making this patch. Like, is gold less useful now that we're making these changes to King's March? So we're like, oh, maybe we should be adding some more gold sinks in. So we were considering bringing the vendors box back. I think we might have had some like something related to Kadero as well. So you never know, maybe something in 329 that will allow you to do some big gambas with gold.
Oh, nice. I love that. That'd be really cool. Oh,
Yeah,
I think I meant to bring it up that I missed it from my sheet, but with Beyond, we saw that there is a change now that allows you to have 3 Beyond bosses spawn, right? Which is cool. But personally, I feel like hopefully that does fix it a little bit, but I feel like with Beyond, it has been a little bit antithetical to a reward feeling because I feel punished for the boss spawning.
It refers to things that are directly opposite, mutually incompatible, or a complete contrast to one another. Okay, cool.
Because without doing anything special, it prevents Beyond from spawning. Like thought about or discussed buffing the loot from the bosses so that it does feel more like a win condition when you actually see them, and not as much as like, oh no, now beyond rares don't spawn anymore.
Real talk. Thank you for doing that.
I mean, I think that has happened once or twice, but if it's still the case that they feel like a punishment rather than a reward, then
They are a punishment rather
mean,
than a
there's-
they need
reward.
more buffs.
There's quite a large contention between the natural behavior of beyond spawning and the endless tide keystone, because you need a balance around a certain level of juice effectively. So basically, for the majority of players who aren't juicing very much, you probably shouldn't be taking the endless tide keystone. But at some point, once you're juicing a lot, then the endless tide keystone is basically mandatory for you. You reach this critical point where you should not be using the keystone, and then you definitely should be using the keystone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would love that to be looked at a little bit, because it does feel a little bit weird with Beyond, which especially because it used to be such a big part of the game, right? There are a few zones like King's Marsh, Menagerie, Delve that delete, especially like the corpse specters when they're taken out. They don't go on the ground; they just vaporize.
Yeah, that's
Can that
rough.
be changed so that they at least do like itemize on the ground?
Maybe.
But yeah, I don't know if it's a
I
technical
would
limitation.
like it to work that way. The Menagerie is cursed. It's a horrible ancient cursed area. The bestiary in general is ancient and cursed, and basically just know that every iteration we've made to bestiary for new scarabs and the passive tree and all that has been brought into the game kicking and screaming and causing 17 different bugs. So yes, I would like to do that. As to whether it's worth, the hair that will be torn out of a poor programmer's head for trying to go back and make Menagerie do something different, we'll see.
Well, yeah. It's definitely like a jarring thing. Is like Spectres. I haven't played that much Spectres lately, and they just vaporized in Delve.
Yeah, they'll do that.
Vendors in the campaign did get changed somewhat recently, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, to where they do not refresh their entire inventory on level up, but instead remove some items and add some items. How do you guys feel about that? Is that something you'd potentially change?
Yeah, personally, I don't like it very much. I have had frustrations with it. I just haven't thought about it in a while. So yeah, I'm
Yes, please.
of the opinion that we should go back to what it used to be, where it's very clear when an item will be rotate in and out.
I am also.
Because I think I was
of
like
that
looking
opinion.
for a specific quiver-based type in Act 2, and I kept on going back level after level, and it's like none of the quivers are refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit frustrating. Same with like the cost is a little bit odd. Like it's very hard for me to buy if I actually do see an item during leveling. It's like, wow, that's actually a good item, but it's like 4 alchemies or like 2 chaos, and I'm like, I don't have that in Act 2.
Yep, I agree.
Well, you might now.
Yeah,
With
true.
the doubled currency. I was doing some playtesting over the weekend and got a lot more currency while leveling than I have in previous
Okay.
experiences.
That's
Oh.
exciting.
Yeah, I mean that's good and all, but
If I may have a tangent here, I was just gonna say, with buffing the rate of a currency is like it has a lot of collateral effects throughout the game. Like for example, you can drastically buff the number of exalted orbs that drop, but now all of a sudden the crafting bench crafts that cost exalted orbs are now relatively cheaper than the second tier crafts that cost chaos orbs. And then yeah, there's just like so many different places that you need to change. Like I think we've changed the influenced item recipe, no longer gives exalted shards, now gives exalted orbs. The gilded fossil, the chase outcome used to be an exalted orb. I think I might have stealth buffed that, so maybe gilded fossils are now better this league.
Wow, that's
Might not
that's
be
a big
giving an
change.
exalted orb anymore. Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of subtle things throughout the game might end up feeling quite a bit different this league because of these like few small changes to currency weights.
Those are huge changes. Like,
Yeah.
those are pretty big.
yeah, that's some
Wow.
pretty big changes.
The Swedish guy wants to know about Wretched Defilers. Are they still exclusive to like Nightmare maps? Like, are they tier 17 only?
There is that Atlas passive that allows you to get T17 map packs in regular maps, but I assume those aren't an efficient way to farm them because they
Yeah.
don't show up very often. So
There's a Mirage Wish that adds those map packs to the Mirage area.
Okay.
So
Cool.
target that wish if you want those monsters as a specter.
All right. Can we specter the new Mirage monsters?
Yeah, I assume, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Go forth, Kazi. Find me a good one. Awesome. That was pretty much every question that I had. I'll end with pineapple and pizza. Yuri nay.
Why
Yeah.
is this even a hot topic? Who cares?
Sure, I don't feel strongly. I worked at a pizza place a while ago that did, much weirder stuff. So I've become kind of, I don't know. It's become blasé to me.
Fair.
Yeah,
I mean,
who
Sweden have
cares,
like banana
actually?
pizza. Something?
Yeah, that I'm not as on board
Never
with.
tried that.
Yeah.
And my favorite that we made was pulled pork and mango. That was very good.
Interesting. All right. Well, I'm very traditional with my pizza, but I won't judge. I do though. I do judge. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your days to come and chat with me here, and dropped a lot of cool info, and yeah, just great answers to everything. So yeah, just thank you guys so much. Everybody in chat, let's get a big clap for Octavian and Andrew. Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Ziz.
Awesome. Good luck on Friday with the servers not burning. So we'll
Thanks.
wrap it up there, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Alright, that was actually pretty good. There's some good information in there. Let me turn my alerts back on. And hide the browser again. Boy! Aw. I think I might not have any lightning resistance. I'm not sure. Oh. Yeah, that'll probably do it, eh? I hadn't looked. Yeah, that's a bit better. Alright, well. Blue helmet. Oh, I've got all sorts of shit items. This is basically like as worse of a league start as you could possibly have. Still in a 4 link. Got blue items on me. Got fucking no helmet. So I'm missing one of the holy relics, and it still just blasts through maps. Apparently it'll probably go a little better now that I have the lightning res. I did stand there and face tank the dude, but like normally I can face tank the dude, right? By death. I did see that. I did see that. I'm confident it didn't always do that because I have physically tested it myself. But it was a long time ago, and so I don't know when that changed, but Pale Sephiroms are a problem. Apparently. Feel free trade? Yes. My friend has to be interested. I think that's like the maximum amount of interview my brain can handle. It was a very busy day before today. It was a very busy day before stream. We've done a lot. But yeah, we're straight up missing 50% damage, right? Like, because we don't have the helmet. That was the problem with Pale Sephiroth. It's handing out action speed instead of taking away action speed. So when you use one, you're actively making the enemies faster, not slower. It's doing the reverse of what it's meant to do. The imbue direct contact with a 21 gem. Yes, it is.
Give in to grace.
In most cases, the imbued gem will be better, but like slightly better. Depending on the skill, it'll be anywhere. A +1 level is usually worth between 12 and 14% more damage. Most level 1 supports give, depending on the support and the skill gem, the extra ones you've got left over for most minions and spell builds will be between 15 and 20% more damage. So you're going to go from 14 to 20 or from 12 to 15. It's going to be slightly better, but really not a big fucking deal unless you can get something mechanical out of it, like that isn't raw damage. Like for instance, we can get 40% chance to poison from a level 1 chance to poison gem. Why would they do that? What do you mean? You can get a really cool notable, fracture that notable, and then change the cluster jewel into a different cluster jewel to roll the rest of it. Yeah, build your own megalomaniac. That could be insane. Go privately. What are you gonna do later? No, I'm doing trade. Fuck you privately. Research about what would be good for Reliquary Conviction. I've done as much research as we have available. We have also worked on the build guide as much as is possible at this stage. There's just, you know, we need more information. We might end up posting it fucking tomorrow with the best guesses that we can possibly give. Yeah, I mean, with clusters, yeah, I looked into clusters. There's nothing we really want.
Greetings.
We like clusters with no notables, and we're still gonna like clusters with no notables. And what skill we're leveling? Absolution.
Farewell.
It's definitely better than SRS by a pretty decent margin. And keep people into the bench until you know. Well, we don't have a choice. The deadline is Wednesday. So day after tomorrow is the deadline. Like that's, we have to have it posted within 2 days with whatever information we've got.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
About the building for the practice run? No, but it's exactly the same as it used to be with just a few tiny tweaks. One, you travel through here. I should respec this soon instead of that, because Absolution is a spell and you can benefit from that. And two, you rush the cooldown mastery first and then the AoE mastery second. Other than that, the entire tree is exactly the same as it was with SRS, but just using Absolution instead. Will there be changes to the main build? Not major ones, right? Like, we've lost woke gems, so we'll be using the regular versions of those. We'll probably, whichever ones have exceptional versions, we'll probably be using those. There's one potential huge change, but we don't know until we get gem information, so there's nothing I can do about that. And as far as our supports go, basically, I think chance to poison support as an imbue will be the best option, but every other gem we use are all good options except added chaos and unbound ailments. Added chaos and unbound ailments are both not options we want. We want those gems to be level 20. Anything else is acceptable, with chance to poison being the best option. Yes, I did. Honestly, this is going surprisingly well. I don't usually do this shit in solo self-found. I didn't even stop to get the quality. So I don't even have like the first quality breakpoint that you should get at what, like 13% or some shit? I don't even have that or the helmet, which would cost 1 chaos. And this is just fine. It's just fine. Like a conviction run is ruthless. It's fine. Yeah. It's just Holy Relic. It just works.
Greetings.
You're making sure this gives the Mafia the power back. I will agree with that. I don't love them becoming extra super rare. I would rather they just didn't exist. Another option that would be cool is if you have them as a thing that can only be used once, just like other things that are really strong, like splitting and whatnot. You can have it so you can't roll. You just get one reroll on a potentially really good item. But what I would like if they went that way is that you would get to pick the mod that you're rerolling. Not the one you're rerolling into, the one you're rerolling away from. But make it a once-off. So if you find an item that's got 3 and you're like, those 2 are good, that one's shit, you get 1 go to reroll the shit one. I would think that that would be cool.
Greetings. Farewell.
The Shrine Belt. Given any thought about that to Holy Relic? Yeah. It will be a lot easier to fit in, just like Mage Blood is a lot easier to fit in, because we can get 40% chance to poison off a level 1 chance to poison support imbued onto our skill. I don't know if it'll be worth it. I don't know if it'll be worth it. But it will be very easy to fit in because of that. I just don't know if it's going to be worth it. And on if we get to choose the Chaos Explode one. If they give it, if Gloom Shrine's a fucking option, it's my permanent belt. I don't think Gloom Shrine's an option. If Gloom Shrine's an option, that's my permanent fucking belt. I don't even care what the second one is. And like, who gives a shit about Profane Bloom if you can have a fucking Gloom Shrine? Right? I don't even know what I would take if I was gonna fucking, I don't know, maybe Void Beacon for more damage. Or Plague Bringer. Just remove them now, vultures that is. If we get Gloom, do you swap to Gull? No. +1 relic is too OP. We don't get to stack Gull with it, but I would still do it. Yeah, I may end up just posting the build tomorrow sometime, with just like a big note on it saying, hey, we don't have access to the new gems and we don't have a new path of building. So like, here's everything we know and what we expect. Here's the leveling trees, how we're going to do absolution, everything. And then just be like, make sure you come back and grab an updated path of building before the league starts, because it'll probably be like the day before the league starts when we actually have path of building or anything. But at least maybe if I post tomorrow anyway, at least that'll give people time to like practice with it, practice with the absolution thing if they want to, and at least like some idea of what it should look like.
When I'm ready and not before.
The other solution to make it not super rare. I like the idea of making it not super rare better than deleting it, but I like the idea of deleting it better than leaving it be super rare. What I don't want as to happen with those vultures, what I don't want to happen is that the TFT mafia is able to just buy them all and own them and do whatever they want. But if I decide to min-max something to the extreme, I can't afford to provide Pineapple with vultures to do so. Like, I do need a syndicate to be able to buy them. That's the worst outcome, right? They're like one or two people can't actually even do it, even when they're degenerate endgame people who can make tons of money. Like, you need a syndicate to be able to buy these things. That's the worst outcome. We don't want that, right? Like, I would rather they stayed at least as common as they are now, if not even a bit more common, so that more people can just have access to them, right? But if we're not going to do it that way, then deleting them is even better. Right? Like, I deleting them is better than this option. Like, it should be an expensive thing. Like, it should be an expensive thing, but not like Like the spot it's at right now is probably already a little too expensive. Like I wish it wasn't quite that bad. Right? And if we're gonna make it rarer from there, it's gonna leave the realm of even degenerate endgame players who aren't in a large syndicate. It's gonna leave the realm of like people being able to do that. You're gonna need a big group. And we know that's the worst outcome. Looking into Totem KF this time around. Honestly, Totem KF is going to be fucking great. Is it just a loss of Karak missions? Yes. I know, but also Holy Relic connection. Yeah, that's fair. Do you have a... Not yet? No, I do not have. But quick TLDR, very, very easy change. We just travel through here instead of the int nodes. We grab this one first before we go exactly the same pathing for the rest of the thing. The only other difference is you take the cooldown mastery first and then the AoE mastery there. And when you get up here, you take spiritual aid as well. And we will just spec out of spiritual aid and spec out of these nodes and into here when you change into Holy Relic. That's it. That's it. That's the whole change. The rest of the tree is the same. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same change at Merc Lab when we get our gems. Everything else is the same. You'll just be faster and do more damage. And that's it. Kills count as you killing. They do not. But the Gloom Shrine has always popped full screens anyway. What's your aid doing? Minion damage affects you. Because Absolution is a spell that you cast, and while leveling, we're doing a pretty decent amount of damage because all the supports also affect us, right? And so we're just... Gloom says enemies you kill. I mean, it might, sure. But when I pick up a Gloom Shrine on Holy Relic, it goes fucking pop everywhere. So... whatever. But I mean, I just took them off because I'm about to end. I got shit to do. We're only on for like 3 to 4 hours a day this week. They're right here. This week we're only on like 3 to 4 hours a day. That's all we're doing. Hopefully we'll get as much of my real life shit out of the way because I'm not doing fucking anything. Are you ready for the league? On like a personal player level? Yes, I could start tomorrow morning. On a content creator level? No. No, I'm not. Plan a meal prep? My normal plan is Uber Eats. You're right, I should plan a meal prep. I only just got access to seeing my balls again. We don't need to put on another 5 kilos. We need to continue losing it. You're right, I should meal prep some stuff. I also can't afford Uber Eats. You're right. It was a rough like 2 months in Satisfactory. You invested a crock pot and learned to use it? Nope. My sister lives here. I'll make her cook some. I'm gonna run. I will see everybody tomorrow. That's so rude. It's not that rude. When I say I'm gonna make her cook something, I'll let her pick what she wants to cook and I will go and buy all of the ingredients and she will pay none of it. and then she'll just do the cooking, and then I'll clean up the kitchen when it's done. Because I don't mind the cooking, I don't mind the cleaning, and I don't mind the going to get groceries. I just don't want to cook. And she likes cooking. She could just never be bothered to go grocery shopping, and she hates cleaning up afterwards, which I don't hate. So it'll be fine. Alright, I'm gonna run. I will see everybody tomorrow. Bye.